Before we do that, guys and gals in the audience, if you are appreciating this content, oh man, it's gone off the rails multiple times, and we're not even on the topic that I thought we'd have a lot of disagreement on. That's the funny part, right? This is gonna be the easy one. But anyway, if you've been enjoying this content, hit that follow button, make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. We do this 7 nights a week. We're streaming here on YouTube 7 nights a week, right? Hit that subscribe button, like, comment, all that good stuff. Support this community, support this channel. Also, hit us up on social media, right? So we got Twitter, where we tweet things, let you know what's going on with the show. We have Discord, where we do everything, heart and soul of the community. We'll have our open walk on panel later on after this, right? So stick around for that. And that happens to the Discord. TikTok is where we're posting videos, clips of the show, and I think you'll actually like them. We got some really good clips. And maybe I'll do some original content there. I'm still thinking about it. But guys, join our TikTok. And YouTube is where you'll find the VOD. So like, comment, subscribe. How about the channel by subbing to this channel, or gifting bits, gifting subs, or super chats, all that good stuff. Huge benefit to the community. So if you're enjoying this, if you like what we're doing, right, want to see more of it, support us. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next topic. Which again, I don't even have it in front of me. It's amazing, right? I got all that time, but I didn't even bother to do that. Okay, next topic. The Buffalo Supermarket Massacre was an example of white-ring domestic terrorism. This has spurred a lot of conversations about whether our governmental leaders are failing us in protecting the Black community against this type of violence. Is this true? Have our leaders abdicated their role of protecting Black people while instead protecting others? Or is it that our perception of racial violence is skewed and that the problem isn't as big as it seems? So, yeah. This is, I guess, on a similar vein to the last one. Hopefully it doesn't go in the same direction. But we have a tragic event that happened last week with that individual who went in and slaughtered those people in the market, specifically looking for African Americans to kill. And we've seen that at least African American, like through like the protest movements, the African Americans don't feel safe in this country, right? But is that an actual fair assessment? And then of course we have the recent massacre that wasn't targeting African Americans, to be sure, but is that a failure from our leaders to protect us in general from gun violence, I guess. All right, so let's go to Bam.
Yeah, it's kind of I'm kind of on the opposite position of a conversation I had a week ago. Like, this is always a tragedy whenever situations like this happen. It does seem to be some like Black people don't seem to be the aggressors in the majority of these hate crimes. Yes, we can pull up examples of these happening, but it seems that we're on the opposite end more times than not. But the reality is, America is a country of 330 million people, and we're also a country of 400 million guns. As far as like the measures that can be taken at this point to like prevent things like this, the sad answer is there's nothing you really can do. Like you can do whatever type of gun reform you want to do. You're not getting 400 million guns out of the country. They're here now, and most people are in favor of having them. And can we do some better level of, protection at school? Like, could schools have, a couple more officers on duty? Maybe, but I don't even know if that would be a good thing. And can you protect people everywhere? Like I said, like the grocery store, like the, their homes. Like, you can't do everything. So, but I don't think that necessarily makes it a problem. Like, I know, I was in a debate the other day that referenced Mother Jones as a decent way of checking how many mass shootings we have, like that are like politically motivated or otherwise. And through their definition, there have been 3 in 2022, including the 2 we know about. So I don't think it's necessarily a systemic problem. It's like, oh my goodness, these things are happening every day, but that doesn't mean it's not like important to people.
So much. Right? And you were fine, but just in case for everyone else, let's keep our intros short so we can get into it, right? But you were fine, Bam. Trina.
I think this is a huge culture problem more than it is a policy one. Like I said, or like Bam said, initially you could have prevented this from happening if we didn't really have the right to own guns. Like the Second Amendment is a huge part, and we've already manufactured so many guns that's out there in the market. So it's really hard right now to remove all those guns. And if you try to, there's a lot of people saying, just try to take my gun, see what happens. It might cause the second civil war, right? So uh, I think a lot of it is culture. We either have to collectively just choose not to, be so aggressive with our guns, or a second, like Bam said, like add more armed security in places um, where these things are likely to happen or could happen. And even still, you still won't prevent everything. Like tragedies are tragedies for a reason. It's because it's almost impossible to prevent them. It's just they just happen on a policy culture basis. You're always gonna have your anomalies.
Taj.
Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. I was muted. Yeah, so I've actually been thinking about this a little bit more, right? In business and in marketing, I realize that you can't control people. I can't like jump into someone's head, control what the fuck they do, right? But I can do things that'll alter people's likelihood to take certain actions. So if I owned like a business, right, like a store, there's certain things I can do to limit the amount of shoplifters. I can install very obvious cameras. I can have signs that say like shoplifters go straight to jail. I can have just like more open walkways and things like that to cut down on shoplifting. I can like barrier certain type of things where people can't grab something. Let's say talk to a store associate beforehand, and that cuts down on shoplifting. If I was making more sales on an online store, I can have flash sale right now. This buy two get one free. I can have like a different form layout that encourages people to buy more. So when we're talking about things like cutting down on gun violence and gun legislation, it's not necessarily that removing the amount of guns. I don't even know if that's possible, right? Or if it was, it costs a fuck ton of money. I don't think it's possible. We're a landlocked country. We have Mexico and Canada above and below us. But there are things we can do to lower the amount of gun violence. What can we do to prevent the amount of people that feel the need or the desire to go inside of a store and start shooting people on Twitch? That cuts down on people's desire to go inside of an elementary school and just fuck up a bunch of kids and ruin a fuck ton of lives. And I think maybe those should be the conversations that we have versus like whether or not to take away the gun. Maybe we limit the access of the gun. Like maybe we have like background checks and things like that. Maybe we have a higher access to psychological care. Like say if someone wants to get meds or wants to talk to a therapist, maybe we can make it where people have access to these things with less of a barrier for entry to these things. Maybe the dude that showed up to school, I don't know his exact motivation. Seems like he wasn't well in the head. The guy who shot up the store definitely wasn't well in the head. What can we do to make people buy the concept of democracy and of multi-ethnic societies more in our societies? Maybe it's what we do with education. Maybe it's healthcare. Maybe it's like removing different economic hardships. I think it's a combination of all these things, and I'm very open to having a discussion with everybody tonight.
Bobo.
Taj actually said a ton of stuff I was gonna say, but generally, whether it's one life or 10, it's still like a tragedy overall. And I'm still on the board of like, you can't really regulate out the guns themselves. I feel like it would be a ton of different issues. Had Taj worded a lot of stuff I was gonna say. It could be so many different facets. The only hope I would say is every time something like this happens, we make a change in some way. Whether he said like background checks, for example. Let's say if we make them universal in all 50 states instead of maybe only a few, for example. Or let's say we talk about as far as mental health. If we do something additional based on that, it's just as long as there's some sort of shift to affect the people in general. One thing I would definitely say is having armed guards everywhere would be nice, but unfortunately the same thing like how we all don't have an FBI agent following all of us. There might not be enough people to do that, which I wish I wish there was, but even the metal detectors, you could try to put metal detectors up as a solution, but no matter what, the one thing with a lot of these mass shootings or stuff like this, they always go into areas where they think they can get away with it. At least what my perception is. So we can try our best to make areas where it's safer, but they're gonna hunt out those areas where it's least safe. And that's the unfortunate part. So it's just like the only thing I can hope is we just make small shifts in ways to just make it to at least, if we stop one person from killing one other person, that makes at least make me happy. At least that's my aim. At least if we can stop one, we can go from there and build up little by little. But yeah.
Okay, be more.
Damn, this shit's deep. Prime knows. I can literally sit here for about 3 hours straight and talk about this. But to be direct about the question, right? The manifesto, like, I don't recommend people read it, right? Because that's kind of his whole intention of writing is he wants people to read it, right? But I still gave him that. I read it, right? And I think there are some key takeaways there. The key takeaways is we are going to have to address the level of racism that's being pushed by, guess who? If you take a look at who the manifesto cited himself, cited the Christchurch shooter, like the shooter over in New Zealand, who was also Tucker Carlson, right? And then also the New Zealand shooter cited individuals like Lauren Southern and a few other individuals, right? You can't just ignore this, right? You can't ignore the fact that these individuals are directly documented by their own word, motivated by Republicans, right? By the right. And that's to me, that's extremely important. Like, yes, we could talk about gun control, right? I believe there are things we can do, right? Unfortunately, Democrats are not interested in those things, right? And I would also argue that Republicans are not doing their due diligence to propose these things, right? Like, for example, safe laws actually provide safes to families. Safes are very expensive. They're very heavy. They're hard to lug around. They're hard to move, right? We can get into all the specifics, but that's my opening statement.
Move.
I just wanna touch on like the as my opening statement, the argument like good guy with a gun. They happen to have an armed security guard there, and because that guy, so I guess the argument then, and he shot the guy, but the guy, it didn't go through his body armor, so he just turned and killed him and kept it pushing. So now the argument becomes, oh, get him higher caliber and get him body armor. That guy, the security guard. I forget the older black gentleman's name, but that's what effectively happened. He was a retired police officer. He went in after the shooter. He got a shot off. It connected, but it hit him in the body armor, and so the guy just turned around and shot him. In those instances, I don't think there's no level of gun ownership that's going to prevent this, and then I'm not going to then turn around and say, oh, well, we should get rid of guns entirely, because that's not going to happen either, because criminals and those elements, they're still going to be out there and they're still going to want to do that. The only effective thing you can actually do is attack the root of the issue, which is his mindset. You have to attack the people that are promoting and pushing this mindset and narrative out there that is literally driving people to do this, because I believe, Bimo, right? The manifesto said that the white race is like dying or something like that, right?
Yeah, great replacement theory, right? And Tucker Carlson has been on an absolute spree talking about it.
Yeah. Literally, because he was in fear of his right. He said, I have to go out there and I have to eliminate some of them just so we can get ahead. That is an insane mindset. And then when you list out your influences, it literally, there's nothing else to argue.
Let's go to Pace.
Well, on these particular issues, I think that they're tragic, and I really wish people would stop talking about it being a mental health issue, because the fact is that this isn't a mental health issue. These people are evil and they do evil acts, and we keep on trying to justify it or excuse it by saying that they were mentally unwell. They knew exactly what they were going to go do when they go do these things. And some people are just evil. We have to deal with that. And the only way to deal with evil people is with good people, but good people aren't always there. They aren't always armed. So there's nothing that you could do that would have been able to to stop it, but you could have had other security measures in place that could have lessened it. But these things happen so rarely that nobody is really prepared for it to happen. The last place you expect somebody to go and kill somebody at is at a grocery store or at a school. Those are the last places that people are expecting. So they get lax. They let their guard down. Um, in this particular case, with the Buffalo shooting, yeah, sure. Was it about some racism? Yes, it was. But I don't like to focus on just the one and then completely ignore what happened a week before that one, which was another racially motivated shooting that happened in Brooklyn of New York. And we just had another racially motivated shooting in Brooklyn just 2 days ago, in another train, another shooting that happened, but it doesn't get the media attention because it's not there to divide because the race is the wrong color. So we have to address evil for what it is and stop using it as a method that we can use to draw people to the polls politically.
Sir,
I've already had this conversation. The
Base
reason why
question.
they don't hold on, just let me say that the reason why the subway shooting didn't get popularized because no one died. That has to be.
Well, we just
that was
had
our second.
another one where people died and it didn't get any coverage.
What's the name? What city or so? Well, send me some details so I can see how it's racially
It
motivated.
was
Unless you want to
was
explain to me
Brooklyn.
how it's racially motivated.
It was Brooklyn, and it was a black guy who said that he was a black supremacist who went there to kill white people in the train station. Now, unlike the one that happened 2-3 weeks ago, he was not
Oh, so
successful. This
okay.
guy, yeah, this is another one. It just happened like 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, I think.
Well, if that's the
And
case,
he
then it
was
might just be that it got drowned out by, the
yeah,
slaughter of
well,
children.
no, it wasn't even the slaughter of children because I was watching. I turn on. I don't turn on CNN. I think it's garbage, but I will have Fox and I'll have NBC on, so I can have at least two different views. And hell, even Fox normally they're quick to try to, say, well, we had this racist shooting that happened up there, so we're going to show you that there was another racist shooting that happened over here, but it was black people. They only talked about it in passing, 30 seconds, literally, going into commercial. That was the only way I knew about it. It didn't get any more coverage on the news all day. I didn't see it on any other network. Now you go to their website and you'll see it outlined in the bulletin on their websites. You'll see the breakdown, but I didn't get any news coverage of it.
Yeah, I'm not finding any evidence that that this individual was racist. So if you want to provide it to me, I'll be more than happy to read it. And until then, I'm gonna focus on the ones that I can confirm are racist. And first off, severity does play a count on media coverage, right? So I'm not saying that it isn't, right? So once you can demonstrate it to me, then I'll address it as so. But till then, but yeah, the Buffalo shooter, his manifestos are clear. Same thing with the New Zealand shooter, the person he cited, right? Clearly racist, right? And when I mean address the mindset, like the indoctrination, I'm not simply speaking about one form of indoctrination, but I will say that one group of individuals are doing far more indoctrination than the other, considering the fact that there is no main stage of black supremacist leader. There's no individual on a major news platform speaking about the Great White Threat. Where is it?
So you've never heard of Louis Farrakhan?
Yeah, Louis Farrakhan is not.
You've
being
never heard of
blasted.
Al Sharpton?
Yes, these individuals. First off, Al Sharpton, weak ass,
Al Sharpton, no.
super weak. The first one you had me on the first one.
You never heard of Percy
Jackson. But the reason why you didn't really get me on the first one is because what major news channel it has a show dedicated to this individual, which allocates them the time to speak to the masses, right?
Exactly.
So you want to equate these, right? What
Joy
I will tell
Reid
you
is another example.
What I will tell you is, show me what major.
Don't have.
On.
She's on MSNBC.
You're grasping at straws right now.
Wait, let's not make this topic like the last one. I'm like, Pace, I like you. Like I said, I think the stuff you say is weird, but at least let people finish. Don't make your rebuttals in the middle of their points.
What you do is I'm giving you large examples, and then you give me the puniest speck of an example, and then you expect for me to give it the same level of clout. It doesn't work that way, right? Again, Tucker Carlson, give me an equivalent. You won't be able to, but I'll wait all day. But please do not waste time. Please give me a source that individual in the Brooklyn shooter, give me evidence that he's racist, because you said
His
he
YouTube
is.
channel, which is deleted now by YouTube.
Okay, send me a source.
And it looks like he shot one person. Again, this wasn't like.
No, send me a source.
I'm talking about
Is
the
it
second one.
Cayes?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah,
just
to
three or
me-
four, if I remember
He
correctly.
successfully killed one person, I think it was, but and it was like I think it was like 15 or 20 that were injured. One person was
Okay,
killed.
now show me
That
that
I'm
was
he's
only seeing
racially
one person shot.
motivated. Show me
that
he's
was the
racially
recent
motivated.
one that
Because
happened
you
like
make a
2
lot of
days ago.
claims and you don't back them up. I want to see where this shooter in Brooklyn was racially motivated. You should be able to
I'm-
provide that to me.
I don't even see 20 people injured. Like I'm only seeing one person that was.
Yeah.
injured.
So here,
That's not a
here's the
good
thing. Like okay, so yeah, I feel like in that scenario, maybe, but I can't speak directly to fact. I think maybe he had more beef with a particular individual, and he did it in a mass setting. Therefore, it became a
More
bit more
collateral.
because a lot of people collateral damage. Yes, perfect word for it. Collateral damage because a lot of people don't know how to aim. That's just realistic, and
Yeah,
that's my other point. Like when people say, "Oh, we're going to arm more people," are you going to train said people? Are said people going to actually be ready? Because when that bullet sounds off and you actually have to respond to it, I'm telling you, your body, your mind, your whole thing is different. Everything is different when that bullet actually whizzes past you. Your whole life changed. Everything flashes before your eyes. And honestly, if you just want to preserve yourself, you're gonna run. That's your base instinct. You're going to run. You're going to find cover. You're going to hide because you want to live. You're not going to want to fight it out because you know how powerful bullets are. That's most people.
Yep.
So
I
you know what I'm
can-
saying? And I believe like when you look at the most recent shooting, like the police didn't immediately run in there. Why? Well, what happened? Because they literally already got into a shootout with this guy. They only had pistols. He had an AR. They was shook. Do I blame them for not going in there after the kids, following their training and protocol? Absolutely. But at the same time, it was outgunned. Like if it's two people with a pistol and one dude with an AR, he probably going through about 3 people, honestly.
But
if he knows how to shoot more.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying?
The manifesto said it themselves. Like the dude in the manifesto said it himself. They want to target soft targets, right? They want vulnerable locations, right?
Yep.
And that's the problem. To me, it's crazy. Like my job has full-blown security checkpoints. If you try to run the gate, you will die, and it actually has happened in the past 2 years, unfortunately. But it just goes to show we don't have no level of security for these schools whatsoever, right? At all. Like I think we value why don't mass shootings happen inside of courthouses? Because we value judges more than children, right? Because really that simple, right? Well, a mass shooting will never occur in a school where Obama's children went to. Want to know why? It isn't because Obama's kids went there. Oh, I mean, okay. It's because security's there. It's just plain and simple. And when we're talking about Secret Service, when we're talking about this level of security, they're just not packing little baby pistols. No, they have P90s. They actually do. Like they have P90s with armor-piercing rounds, and they're ready. So to me, something has to give. Because even if you banned all guns tomorrow, what happens directly when you ban guns tomorrow, right? First off, obviously, it's harder for certain people to get guns. But the next immediate step that occurs is that all the places that America has smuggled guns out to, leaked through the borders of Mexico, leaked through the borders of Canada, they come right back due to the inflated prices, due to the legality. So it isn't as simple as you just ban the guns, circulation ends. No, the guns that America distributed outwards, prices inflate. It's lucrative to bring them back, considering the fact that there was 20 million guns sold last year, and out of the 20 million, right? Oh no, it was 20 million guns made in America last year, and only around 300 to 400,000 of them were actually exported, which is crazy.
I thought it was crazy when I found out there were only 1 million guns in America. Like out of the 400 million, only about a little over 1 million are registered. That's crazy.
I mean, what state are you in, if you don't mind me asking?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from Georgia.
Georgia got no damn. You know that.
But I'm saying, I'm surprised that out of 400 million, only one. Like I was expecting at least like 10%, something like that. Like 5%, 10%. But no, only 1 million guns are registered in the United States. That seems like a problem.
There's a couple things going on here, right? So the NICS check system, right? It's a federal background check system that does exist for private sale of guns. People pretend it doesn't exist. It does exist. Background checks do occur, right?
The problem is for everywhere, though. if I
It is
remember
for
correctly.
no, it is for private
It
for
is?
private. Yeah, yeah, it
For
is. It is for if sold at a store,
Okay.
it simply is.
Okay.
NICS, if you want to look it up, NICS check, FBI, right?
No,
But
I'll
here's
take
a
it for the argument.
here's a couple
I'll take
interesting
it.
things about the NICS check. First off, after the background check occurs after 20 years, that record expires, right? One big fear for a lot of the gun individuals is registries lead to confiscation, right? Honestly, the only reason for a registry is so you know who to come after. What other reason is there for a registry? So you know whose guns to take in the future, or you just want the data just for the sake of data? You think people are gullible enough to believe that? I don't see like honestly, registry it occurs. What's the purpose? Be very blunt about it, right? It's for
Right.
future
So,
confiscations.
Timur, I have a question for you. So, do you feel like if they modified that same registration to be instead of who has a gun to be say who can safely own and operate a firearm? That doesn't say how many guns you have.
That's what
So
that's what the system does currently. What the
that's what
system does
that's what it
currently.
does. It
Yeah,
says
so
who can. But so I'm asking like so all of us would be listed on there, or we're only listed on there after we buy a weapon. Because
no.
if it's
So
only
the way, let
after
me show
you
you.
buy a
let me-
weapon,
Yeah, I'll explain to you exactly how it works. So what happens is, first step is you go to the store and you say you want to buy a gun. They say, cool, provide me your ID. You fill out a form called the 4473. The 4473 is going to have questions on it asking you, are you a prohibited user? By prohibited user, are you mentally defective? Just chat. I'm saying mentally defective because that's exactly what the form says. It's a very insensitive term and I don't agree with it, but I'm just facts, right? The form is going to ask you, are you mentally defective? An assortment of other questions. Have you ever been put into a hospital? Do you have any violent crimes and so on? Simply lying on the document alone is a felony, right? Then after that, the form is submitted to the FBI, where the FBI will double check all the questions and ensure that you're telling the truth, right? So the issue here is, if you have a clean record, you can go kill people. You can kill someone. Like, I'm not going to beat around the bush, right? Like, if you have a clean record, if
Right.
nothing's on your record, right, then you are free to buy a gun and commit a heinous act. And even if you were to create a registry, right, the registry, for example, let's say your intention is to commit a mass shooting, so you fill out the 4473, your record's clean, they sell you an AR-15, you buy some ammunition, and then you committed the heinous act, right? Well, there was nothing there before. You were never mentally defective to begin with. You were never a criminal to begin with. These 18-year-olds, these young individuals who are committing these crimes, these are the first times committing at least like crimes that would deem them like unauthorized users in most cases, except for like the Parkland shooter, right? Who and also where there was some documented history of him being an unlawful user, but the state did not submit that information to the FBI, right? So if we want to address the background check system, we're going to have to improve the current system we have at the absolute minimum, right? Why are states not submitting the proper information to the federal government? Because when the federal government checks these systems, they're predominantly looking for federal data, right? They also look at state data, and I'm also going to let you know that states are not even submitting this information into their own databases. Right? There's even an example of a mass shooter being let out of the Air Force, right, for being a violent criminal.
Oh yeah, that guy.
And then a federal entity, the military is a federal entity, didn't even properly notify the federal government, right? The requirements are there, right? So people say these are loopholes. These are not loopholes. The requirements are there, but they're simply not being enacted on. And the majority of individuals who are in the position to submit this information to the state or the federal government are actually police officers, right? Police officers are the first responders, the individuals who take down these reports, who are expected to notify the proper individuals after them. But guess what? The cops are not going to be held to no level of accountability, right? You know? The onus is just on us to deal with the repercussions.
It's because they're their own judge. Like, if anything, I would definitely say, Taj, you're muted, by the way, if you were talking. So it's because they're judging themselves. It's like, hey, if I say I go and like slap someone in the face, right? Or I go and stab someone, and you're like, Marlon, you just stabbed someone, or Hobo, whatever. You just stabbed someone, and you're like, I'm gonna take you to jail, or I'm gonna have you you're gonna literally be put on trial. And all the people in trial are just me. I'm the guy that's my own sentence. Makes everything else, but okay, you know what? I think I'm okay. What I did is fine. Don't worry about it. That's what's happening. Like, if we had another third party to hold them accountable, that'd be cool. But unfortunately, balls are getting dropped all over the place. And I don't think, like what you brought up, the whole fact that like stuff's not being reported correctly is a big issue. Like how I'm saying, at least if we can stop small things here and there, that's a big thing we can stop. Like the fact there should be punishment for when this happens, especially if, like a mass shooting or any sort of shooting happens, and we can link it back to information was not properly conveyed. There should be
Democrats are
punishment.
not interested, right? Democrats are not interested in establishing a system, right? Even if you take a look at the current assault weapon bans, if you take a look at the current registration bills and so on, there's no form of codified punitive measures if the state or the federal government doesn't properly channel the information upwards, right? All the punishment is placed on the individual, right? The purchaser, right? The criminal, right? But I would say if this information is supposed to be documented and you don't do so per law, you are a criminal. And that should make you a prohibited user. That should lead a police officer to possibly losing his guns. It makes no damn sense. It makes no damn sense. We need this information properly documented so the background check systems can properly be used. But it's like a little bit of conspiracy theorists. It's just like, is this just, do they like this lackadaisical approach? Or do cops just like not really doing their job? Is this just a systemic thing? Yeah, it kind of is, to be blunt. But my issue too is gun control, right? There's some simple things we can do. Gun safes, everybody says you should lock up guns. It should be a legal requirement to lock up guns, right? This is the reason why I think CRT is important. This is the reason why I think we need to look at policy and law and take a look at how it intersects with race, right? If you were to tell people that your guns must be locked up, right? How much does a good gun safe cost? Like, hopefully you guys know it's anywhere between $300 to $1,000, right? Depending on how many guns you want. And I'm talking about good quality steel, right? Safes. And even then,
Right.
Good safes, in
It's
my
like two
opinion,
guns.
in my opinion, a good safe costs at least $600. It's ideal if that they're bolted down to the ground, so you can't just remove the entire safe. And if you do all this, first off, people don't even own homes to bolt down safes, right? If you live in an apartment complex, good luck dragging 500 pounds of steel up your damn staircase, and good luck even affording it. So who is this going to disproportionately affect? This is going to disproportionately affect individuals who are not homeowners, right? Who cannot afford the safe to begin with. So what can we do about this, right? If you want to address gun crimes, if you want to address this, fucking deal with poverty already. And on top of that, subsidize gun safes, right? If you want to make a
Oh
safe
God, that is
requirement,
horrible.
make sure that safes are actually accessible, right?
That is horrible.
I'm not interested in making requirements for products that are not accessible.
I actually have a different solution, and my solution isn't simple or easy. My solution would be require every gun in America to be registered to a specific person, and like literally you have a yearly checkup, like a literally yearly check-in
Like a
where someone.
registration.
Yeah, but like it's not you like carrying your guns to the police station, but like you can have people that this is like a whole new industry. This is their job that they go from house to house whenever your time comes, and they verify that you still have every gun in your possession. If you don't have every gun in your possession, if you better have an explanation for who you sold it to, and where that gun is. If you say you don't know when it's missing, now that's a problem. Like,
So
not
bam,
necessarily a felony, but yeah.
terrible idea.
Yeah, I
Right.
know. That's my position, though. It's
And it's your position, and I'm gonna have to combat it, right? I don't want to increase the level of confrontations or the amount of confrontations between officers and black people. I don't believe you're gonna be able to get social workers to perform audits on people's gun safes, right? You're gonna send people out. Let me go tally up people's guns inside of their own properties. I'm gonna go inside of their house, warrantless, right? Because I guess the warrant is simply the fact that you passed this law, and then I'm gonna a beautiful officer inside of a black home. You know what? What about we get some drug reform before we have cops going into people's homes for free? Like,
Even
there's an
better.
assortment of things we need to do first before we just invite cops into our own houses.
Let's
Fuck
let's
that. Let a
no.
cop go to your house. I'm not interested in a cop going into my house without a proper warrant.
No, that's not even the issue. Let's assume we do that. We already have a problem with them reporting things in the first place. They're not going to report anything
Yeah.
properly anyway.
No, but here's one core issue, and usually when I bring this issue up, it has to be ignored in my opinion, because I don't believe anybody's brought up a good fucking counter to it, so I'm gonna lay it on you guys now. Everybody who's available, go on Wikipedia and look up Second Amendment Sanctuary. I'm gonna post it in chat for those who are lazy.
That what
But
Greg Abbott did in Texas.
no, it's far greater than that, right? And the Wikipedia link is actually a decent source. I know people don't like Wikipedia, but it's the easiest way to go about it without having to break down absolutely every damn point. But overall, white communities have determined, right, that they're going to have little carve-outs or little or their communities are not going to enforce future gun laws. white communities as a collective have come up to the decision that at this point forward, these are the gun laws we're going to abide by, and all future ones or any ones that we locally deem unconstitutional, we're not going to follow. So what happens in this particular situation? You have white communities where their police officers actually represent their own communities who are not going to enforce these policies, like, for example, going into their fellow white people's homes to inspect their guns, right? They're not going to allow capacity bans or rifle bans because the officers themselves are not going to enforce it. But then if you take a look at areas that are not Second Amendment sanctuaries, they're black communities. They're
that's
black
what
communities.
that's what Abbott did. That's exactly what Greg, the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, did, and he signed something like that in Texas.
But mass shootings aren't the issue. Like, I don't care about mass shootings, but America does have an issue with gun violence. But like, America does have a large issue with gun violence. So it takes it's gonna, like, I don't think you can solve this issue with like, oh yeah, you know, a couple problems to solve poverty. Like, I don't think so. I don't think that's the solve solution. I think you do have to have a large, like a dramatic solution. And if that, I don't think that makes me fascist.
So
but yeah,
what about? Sorry, you know what? You go smooth.
So you're saying like fixing poverty wouldn't solve that. I think honestly it kind of would, because when you look at these shooters and you look at the social economic class that they are in, just by and large, it's not a good situation. Just by and large, it's not a good situation. Like most shooters are not financially well off. You know what I'm saying? They're not that guy that like, oh man, I had my whole life ahead of me. I just got back from the Dominican Republic. Let me go shoot some people today. Like, no, that's not what happened. Like, they don't have anything going for them. They're online in these chat rooms or whatever friends group that they can find that accepts them, and they got accepted. They went down the rabbit hole. They got indoctrinated. They got radicalized. And then they went, you know what? Yeah, I do hate black people today. And I'm going to go to the supermarket and I'm going to shoot them.
This isn't a gotcha. This isn't a gotcha because I get you're speaking generally, but the Buffalo shooter did come from an affluent household. That's all I was gonna say. But I get you're speaking generally.
Yeah, generally, by and large. Yeah,
by and large, gun deaths will decrease when poverty goes down because criminality and poverty go hand in hand.
Not at all.
Not only that, you said what?
Pace.
No, it's not going to go down.
Yes, it does.
See,
we already have the evidence, man.
I want to hear from Pace. Pace.
The problem that we have here is what you addressed and Bam also addressed, and so did Hobo. The problem is that we already have laws in the books. We just need to follow them. Same thing when we talk about immigration and shit. We just need to follow the laws that are on the books. The fact that our gun laws aren't being followed, adding new laws to it isn't going to solve anything. We have more than enough, and some of the gun laws we have aren't even reasonable. Just follow the ones that we have, and we can address this issue. Another thing to also point off to, the majority of people who commit shootings are criminals, number one, and number two, the majority of the time, the guns that they're using are illegally obtained.
You can't say that.
Passing those types of laws, the only person that it hurts are legal law-abiding citizens. It doesn't stop the criminal at all.
Majority of people who kill people are murderers.
No. Okay, Pace, you're onto something, but I think you're getting the wrong conclusion.
Yeah.
Yes, it is criminals that are causing this, right? How do you decrease the amount of criminals in a society, right? By reducing poverty. It's really that simple. Crime and poverty go hand in hand. That's been demonstrated countless times through research. If you have research that says otherwise, I'm here to see it again. You never provide me the source the first time, the second time, and I don't expect you to do it the third time either.
That's why the suburbs are the suburbs.
Yeah, and when you look at countries where people are living better, crime is lower. Just country by country, block by block. You know what I'm saying? You can take whatever city by city where anytime people are doing better, there's less crime. Period. Just all bases of crime are down.
They also have less guns though, right? In all of them. And every example you will give me, they'll have less guns, right?
Not necessarily. Like, you could take a look at plenty.
In all of them. Is there a country that's more filled with guns than us?
Wait.
Yeah, that's true. They all have less than us because we're the only country in the world that has a Second Amendment where it is your inherent right to protect yourself against the government. Sure. That's what the Second Amendment is for.
Great.
Is in case the government goes rampant.
Yeah, but I mean, and every all those countries that you can name, they also have less guns, right? In every single one of them. So my point is not contravened, correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Oh, no,
they
I
have
get
less guns.
Yeah.
They have less people
Great.
too, but less guns.
And you can do it per capita. It doesn't matter. We still are number one when it comes to guns, so it doesn't matter either,
We are.
either way.
And sales are
but-
going up, especially when bad
Exactly.
proposals
So,
are being pushed by Democrats.
So then,
They
what
also
about
don't have
restricting the
they don't
supply
have a
of?
culture though. They don't have the same culture. America has a lot of like a way different culture that you can't account for when it comes to different countries. Like our gang violence culture, like if you remove guns, we're still gonna have a lot of violence.
Yeah, we
Because
gang
they're
violence is not the best example.
No. I
'cause
mean,
gang-
the beauty is you can't remove guns. You just can't. Like you can find 101 ways to like slow the purchases. We are 20 million sold last year. Over people say 400 million. It's looking more like 500 million. I think
exactly.
we need to like. So it's just like what you want it to go from 20 million to 10 million?
No, I'm saying
that's further. That's more.
First of
than
all,
a
we could
replacement rate.
actually restrict the sales of guns, right? Like, so yeah, people are saying, well, we can't get them out of people's hands. I disagree. I think we actually could, right? I think we do a lot of things to reduce the amount of gun ownership, including right, just having even strict. Hey! Whoa! I'm talking now. When I'm talking, no one else needs to be talking. Knock that shit off right now. Thank you. So, we can do things like voluntary gun buybacks. Obviously, it wouldn't take everyone's guns off the street. That's just it's something to start with. But in terms of literally restricting the amount of gun sales that we have, we can do that massively in this country if we wanted to, right? If we took this thing seriously, we can massively restrict the amount of gun sales in this nation. Like we can, I mean, how? We can say that you are only allowed to have so many, or you only have to allowed to have so many guns, right? Or when you have a gun, are going to get a gun, you have to hit like a very high threshold, right? So the requirements are extremely difficult. You can still, gun ownership is still a possibility, but the requirements are very high, right? In terms of like gun safety, right, and training, you could require multiple weeks of training, right? Instead of like a few hours, amazing, in some states to get your hands on a gun. You can actually do it in a few weeks. I mean, we put more. You have to do more training to get your hands on a driver's license, not a car, but a driver's license.
You're
like a Japanese
incentivizing the
model.
black market. You're incentivizing the black market.
Yeah. Oh wow. You mean when you put a law in place, right? That restricts an item, that there'll be a black market. Amazing, right? A good work, Dream.
Right,
Thank you
which
for
means
helping
you're not
us
solving the
out.
problem.
No, of course it fucking tells us. Hold on. Okay, so this is great. A beautiful report, Dream, right? Saying that, hey, guess what? When you make a law, right? Then sometimes people break that law. So there's no point in making the law. Who gives a shit? No, you do one at a time, right? If you have a black market, that is a problem. Then you send law enforcement to deal with that problem. Like we deal with gun running right now. We literally deal with gun running as we speak. We already have laws in place exactly for that. So you have a black market, you do have the black market. It doesn't make you stop making a problem illegal if it's illegal.
I mean,
I'm saying you're going in reverse.
This is the reason why progress just can't be made. It's like it's like I could take this conversation seriously, but what's the point to? Like, in order to take this conversation seriously, there's still one key aspect that has to be recognized. Is that first off, we have a fundamental right to own a gun. We don't have a fundamental right to a car or to driver's license. We have the right to travel, but not necessarily the means. And until we deal with that fundamental right, these ideas are just like perpetual restriction, this slowly deteriorating people's ability to own a gun. Actually, it's not necessarily possible, considering the fact why are handguns specifically, right, so hard to legislate. Is because Democrats have fought so hard to ban rifles, right? Eventually, through the Heller decision, they were able to enshrine the right to at least a handgun, right? So now the most lethal means, the most lethal device in America, right, and also now the most popular one because there's a moment in time I can show you the ATF data where rifles used to outsell handguns.
Sorry,
But
you're
since
not dealing with my.
battle
So you're
against-
going on the whole thing. You're going on a whole tangent. Like I
I'm
want
gonna
to
address
actually
your
deal
point,
with
and
this
your
point.
point's very simple, Prime. The point is you want these restrictions that completely ignore the fundamental right of gun ownership.
No, it
Not
doesn't.
possible.
It
Yes,
doesn't do
does.
that. What I
It does.
just said
It
doesn't
does.
do it.
It's
How
already
did
been determined
anything
by the
that I
Supreme
just
Court
say
in
do
an
that?
assortment of ways. It did. Yes.
How do I said like we have restrictions. I'm saying we have more restrictions, right? So we've already established we can have restrictions on gun ownership, right? If you have to meet some qualifications, right? Weak sauce qualifications, but qualifications nonetheless, right? You can increase those qualifications, right?
Okay.
You can,
If I wanna be fair,
you can
yeah.
every single person can have a gun. If everyone wants a gun, sorry, excuse me, that's not true. But like you can all apply for a gun, right? There's all possibility for people to do that. But of course, if it takes like certain actions, then maybe not so much, right? From there's a voluntary buyback, right? How is that infringing on
No,
people's
let
right
me
to
be
own a
clear.
gun? No,
I
I
support
gave two
voluntary
solutions
buybacks.
there.
You too.
But
I support voluntary buybacks, right? For example, I have an old Ruger 1022 that no longer works. I would love to sell it to the government so I could buy a new one. But overall, you keep ignoring the fundamental right to gun ownership. And in order to
No, I
ignore
didn't.
it, there's a simple solution.
you just keep
did.
saying that.
What you can do is amend the Constitution. It seems like that's what you want. And I think
No,
that's,
you can't.
No, why not? You get 2/3 vote.
Because the
What, you
first
start
10
touching
amendments to the
that?
Constitution cannot be amended. It says
Yeah.
you
Of course
you
cannot
can.
infringe upon those.
No,
It
you
says
can't.
it
You
literally.
can amend them. No,
It says you shall not
amendment
infringe upon these
Yes,
upon these
amendment
first
is not
10.
considered an infringement. You can amend
Yeah.
any constitution.
Yes, you
Any
can
amendment.
absolutely amend those. Yeah, 100%.
Yes, you can. And I
Of
think
the
the only way
And,
to
and
go
even
about
then,
this is,
you can,
yeah.
and even if that's the problem, then you can amend the part of the Constitution that says you can't infringe on those parts. I mean, like you can
Either way,
amend the
exactly.
Constitution. The point is a
Yeah.
living document.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
you can
change.
amend it.
It lives through amendment. Just amend the Constitution, Prime. I think that's a good
I
solution.
would, well,
I wish
I
you
would
luck.
love to. You know, I would already love to. But
And you know I'll vote
Taj,
against you. I'll be sure to be
that's
to
cool.
help push it over the edge.
That's cool. Well,
Alright,
I'll meet
tight.
you in the field of battle, buddy. Taj,
You don't want that.
there's a lot of stuff. All right, I'm gonna
you'll
touch
have the
on
gun, and I won't.
amendment
There you
thing.
go. Yeah.
Oh.
I'll give you one.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Taj, please.
Yeah, I can talk about the amendment thing real quick before going on to my points. All right, for the amendment thing, yeah, like all amendments are just like how we interpret them. Like we have limits on the First Amendment, even though the First Amendment literally says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting its free exercise, right? But we still have things that prohibit religion, right? If I wanted to sacrifice like a goat, then I'm gonna be prevented somehow from doing that, right?
What are you talking about? Muslims do that all the time. What are you on?
If you do it in private, yeah, no one's gonna
Right.
bother
Well,
you.
if I were to sacrifice a baby, then like if that was part of my religion,
That's
I'd be
murder. That's
upset.
murder.
That's against the
Okay, if I already
Murder.
yelled fire
Yeah,
in a fucking
that's a
airplane, a
totally
movie
different
theater,
law,
it's
bro.
gonna
Man,
be
get his point
restricted
off.
somehow, right?
No, that's actually different. That's inciting a riot.
Yeah, but that's still speech. So the same
we
thing
gotta
with
stop.
the same thing with like firearms. We can still like limit that, right? Like I don't want to give everybody nukes, but also at the same time, right? If we had a fundamental right for a fucking dildo, I don't think you guys are gonna get your free government issued dildo. You just wouldn't give a fuck about it, right? The demand isn't there. So my thing is, for things like firearms, you can just cut down on the demand for these things. Like the same way you don't want a government issued dildo, then you don't get this government issued gun, all right?
You don't
Like,
get a government
this
issue
is
gun
why
I
already.
want the dildo.
No,
I
y'all want the
don't
dildo or no,
understand.
you don't
Yeah,
want
why
the
wouldn't we
dildo?
want that?
Yeah, you
I
don't
like
you don't
free
have the
shit.
demand for the dildo.
We
Okay?
can.
There is
I
no
think we
way
have.
you don't
I
have
demand
taxpayer
for
dollars
guns.
paying for it anyway. I want it.
We can find lots of
mean,
things to do with the
alright.
dildo.
But like what I'm saying is like the demand for these things isn't there. So if what I'm saying is that if we cut down on the demand for guns, we will see less gun violence.
So how
Like,
would
if
you
someone's
do that?
like-
I'd love to hear your proposal. How do you? kill
Yeah, there's a
demand? 'Cause
lot.
I bet
There's
it's
a lot of ways
possible. I
we
have
cut
my
down
own
demand
ways.
for guns. Yeah,
Well,
so
I'd
those
I'd
are,
like to ask you.
Besides
I'd like
me-
to ask you, who is getting a government issued gun?
right. I'm just saying like if there was a government issued gun, right? Like there's just like we can cut down on the demand for these things just as we would if there was a government issued dildo. All right, so what I'm saying, ways that we can cut down on gun violence, right, is have more housing access. A lot of like violence between
Yes.
like a lot of domestic violence is caused by couples that literally can't afford to split up.
Yep.
Like they motherfuckers can't afford to split
Okay.
up. So that'll cut down
Me too.
on not only just domestic violence but also gun violence too.
Put them
Um,
outside.
All right, to cut down on things like hate crimes and shit, we can like introduce like better education. that's more robust than like more encouraging for racial friendship. Literally, like, and literally assignments where like a kid in like an affluent white neighborhood has a pen pal assignment with a kid in like a underprivileged neighborhood or a more black neighborhood, and like maybe something like that will cut down on like racial animosity. How many? I wonder if the kid that shot up the
the
school.
color of friendship.
Can you imagine? Hey, you
No,
got
no,
a, you got a
I'm
black
saying, like,
pen
there are ways
pal.
we
He's
can do
like,
things like this.
hello, nigga. That's just gonna be worse. Mommy,
All
my
right.
white friend called me.
Anyway, so what I'm saying is we can still like, I'm curious if the guy that shot up the church, Dylan Roof, right? How many black friends did that kid have when he grew up? How many black friends did like the guy who shot up the black like grocery store have, right? There are ways we can do to like introduce more like racial friendliness in the country. There are things we can do to cut it down and things we can do to like raise it. Because a lot of hatred is based out of unfamiliarity. All right, mental health access, as I said earlier. If you have better access to a shrink or to meds and shit like that, then I think the demand to shoot people will go down. My thought process: the demand for
The access
violence
to
will
a
go
shrink,
down.
I like that. I like that one.
All right.
But you have to destigmatize the idea of seeing a therapist. A lot of people like, oh, you see a therapist,
Yes,
they're gonna
yeah,
call
we
me
can
crazy.
definitely. There are
Oh,
definitely
no,
things we can
no,
do.
that's
I'm not
fine.
done
We
with the
can-
platform. I'm not done with my platform yet,
No,
guys.
no, no. Oh, sorry, forgive us. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So and also, shit. What was this? I can't. Oh, fuck. I can't even fucking. Poverty
that-
reduction measures. Sorry, I was reading my notes and I couldn't
Yeah,
even
no,
remember.
you're making great points, but unfortunately, all these points will benefit black people way too much for Democrats to give a fuck about them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is unfortunate. This is unfortunate.
I think that might be.
we gotta find a way to-
Hold up, we almost done. Hold up, B. I can
Oh,
see
you're not
you
done
better
yet.
cook up.
Keep going.
Yeah, I'm
keep
so
going.
sorry. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
killing it. You're
So,
killing
yeah,
it. Keep
poverty
going.
reduction measures. So, like, poverty reduction is things that's like spreads wealth. So this can be something even as light as like better transportation, where people have better access to jobs. That I'll even take that. I feel like would cut down on gun violence. So people have literally more opportunities. Changing access to firearms as far as like background checks. And I know B more you said that we have decent amounts of background checks, but if we encourage this a little bit more, maybe we can cut down on gun violence. And also if we cut down on black market sales. One of my best friends, like I know a guy that I went to high school with, he was 16 and he bought 4 different firearms from motherfuckers on Craigslist.com. Just like some random dude was like, "Yep, I'll sell you a gun," and like he just bought them. Like I'm like, and the motherfucker looked like he was 16 when he was 16.
Oh, he bought the gun for him? Like he went to the store.
No,
bought the gun
he
and
bought
gave
him from a
it to you?
dude off Pays list.
Okay.
And like a lot of kids can do that. Yeah, as I said earlier, we can't control people, but we can alter people's demand for shit. Like, thank you. Just think about like guns like dildos. Like, how can I cut down on the demand for shit like dildos, right? Like the demand's not there for dildos.
Niggas be giving whack ass dick.
I think what the
Yeah,
biggest
like,
thing you
we
said.
need dildos. Like,
Yeah, but like, this is what I'm saying is like,
Oh, no,
if you
I
treat
always
guns
think-
like
yeah, you
dildos,
can.
give
proper
sexual
but
education,
the
so
demand's
what?
not there.
people
No,
have
no, no.
fundamental- There's a fundamental
Okay,
right
boy.
to a dildo.
No,
Hey, if
I
you had a
agree, but
fundamental right and people
you
just
have a
didn't
right.
buy them, like,
But
all
now
right.
you can.
That's we gotta get classes.
I wanna ask you guys
demand for
something.
dildos,
Alright.
then niggas gotta bring their dick game up.
Exactly. And how do you do that, B-More?
Through
Yeah.
promoting fitness,
Thank
mental
you.
health,
See,
and addressing poverty. Because if people are so busy working, they can't lay down the dick properly.
No,
I just-
poor
Exactly.
people have the best.
Poor people got the
It's
best
true.
dick, bro.
Wait,
Just
wait,
like,
true.
we gotta
What
question
wrong?
it's not
Today,
early. If
More
all
people got the best
that's
dick,
how it
bro.
is.
You're
More
wrong.
people
You're-
got the. I'm telling you,
Prove me
bro.
wrong.
Why do you think? Why do you think people in the hood got 6 kids,
There's
bro?
no way you guys put your
They-
full
they
effort all
throwing-
the
they-
time.
it's out there,
There's
put it
times
down.
I just nut in and just fall asleep. All right.
Wait, can I
Oh,
can I
you
keep
are-
going?
see,
Hold on.
you
Alright.
are promoting
Hold on.
dildo ownership.
Wait,
Yeah,
let
there
me
we go.
let me
Yeah,
say
The
something.
reason they got
Hobo
hella
has a
kids, 'cause
serious
that's the
point.
only that's the only
Okay.
form of entertainment they got.
Hobo.
Okay, so listen. So just a quick to be more thing about poverty as far as if you bring up people and they're more
Yes.
well, as far as dildos, if they can afford more expensive dildos, they'll be safer. Actually, they can support more expensive things besides it, they'll be fine. Or they can pay for the really muscular man to do things. I don't care. But anyways, so Taj talks about as far as therapy. We all can agree that therapy overall would more than likely help a lot of people. But unfortunately, we go back to still people that are poor and poverty, they can't afford it in general. Oh, and even if they could, here's the best part. Even if they could, these people are in poverty, they're working a ton. So where do they have time to even go to this stuff in the first place? Like, okay, I can take off 2-3 weekdays from work. and just go to a therapist every single week, most companies might give you what, 7 days off in a year, maybe 15. I'm talking about low wage workers, by the way, where they just give you.
Do a
You'd be
Zoom
lucky
call.
if you get days off.
You'd be very surprised. Like, all
Exactly.
right, so I work with not I don't work, but like I've been a customer of Better Health, right? And that's like a mental health platform. You can have like you can talk to a therapist on your fucking lunch break, 30-minute lunch break. Like every Thursday, I talk to my therapist. Her name is Carla. She's fucking great. Love that
Yeah,
woman.
but
got
people,
healthcare?
Better Help isn't their healthcare. You can just pay for
No,
it.
I think actually the biggest thing, Ty
Oh,
said
that's
that I
right.
agree with
better
is,
healthcare access, where we can have
I-
things like telehealth.
yeah, I think I just
I'm
want
Right,
to
that's
say,
helped me out a bunch for 30
Okay,
minutes a
I'm
week.
not gonna.
I,
disagree with you on
I just
that.
wanted to say, like, the biggest thing I agree with what you said was the like, even though I made fun of like the color of friendship reference, right? Socialization is like super important. Like you spoke about Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof went to Lexington High School in South Carolina, which is like 96% white. And same thing with Buddy. I'm not gonna say his name. I only can't remember, but I'm not gonna say his name. In New York, he was from I think a city in high school that was also in the upper 80% white. So like there is some truth to like being around people makes you like forces you to humanize them regardless of what you thought about them before.
That is true. I can use an example for this. It's actually on my family. I'm originally from Jamaica. Someone in chat thought I was for Canadian. Apparently, it's not Canadian. So last year Thanksgiving, I actually went and had Thanksgiving with my family. We're a bunch of Jamaican people, and they were physically talking about when they came to America, that was their first time seeing that many white people in one place, and they were all shocked because it's just so weird. No, literally. And that's why I use an example. But they come with curiosity. They're still like, oh no, this is weird. So I understand, like, if you start integrating more people and getting more used to it, like these are just regular people. Because to them, when they came here, they're like, okay, white people, we know they exist, but like they're over there. And now you have to interact with them. So they're all laughing about how they thought they were ridiculous thinking this when they first came to America. Because I said, I come from a country where it's a majority of black people. So I think it's the same way for these people, where it's instinctively as humans, we're scared of the unknown. So if we don't integrate to some extent, that's why I like the whole idea of integrating overall. If we don't, there's gonna be those people that are just scared innately because they're like, there's a black guy. I've never dealt with black guys before. I can only go off stereotypes or whatever it may be. So I'm a big fan of doing something to integrate kids a little bit better. That's it, actually.
So they were scared.
Yeah, I think
You're
about
about
They
to
were
say something, so I
scared.
was like,
They were scared, and then they discovered white women. Then they were excited. So, all right, I hear you.
Oh,
I got
no.
you. But
yeah, I interact
so-
with a lot of groypers. Sorry, Prime.
I'm sorry. No, that's fine. I was just being a shit. I continue on.
Yeah, I've interacted with like a lot of groypers online, right? Like on the Politically Provoked, I go on their pop on drinking chat channels a lot. I genuinely believe that a lot of those motherfucking kids that like follow Nick Fuentes and all this other racist shit, I really believe those motherfuckers have never had a black friend in their fucking lives, right? Like
I mean,
and,
yeah.
like, what does that do? What does that do to a motherfucker?
Sure. Look,
Ain't nobody
I
gonna
think
help you off your drip. It's
I think-
painful.
I think it's absolutely, I think it's certain that if you increase diversity, then, increase people's exposure to others from different cultures, then hate goes down when you actually experience them, right? But like, you have to go deeper than that. If you're going to propose this, then I need you to take a step further. So like, how do you actually do that? How do you make this a reality in a country that is physically segregated? Where because of housing, right? Because of the policies that have been in place for generations, and structural impediments that keep people from integrating at this moment. Like, how do you actually make that happen?
Have more
He
kids.
gave some
Promote
examples.
gentrification and
He gave some
subsidization
examples.
at the
Great
same time.
replacement theory true. That's what you gotta do.
He gave some examples with the riding pen pals. I don't think that's a bad idea.
What? That,
Maybe
are you
interracial
serious?
couples.
Maybe
Everyone.
even like
No, I think it's cute.
So my thing with the pen pal thing, like, to know that you're
Come on,
talking to a person of the other race, you're gonna send them a picture with your letter to say, hey,
if you let me
just
finish,
so you know,
I
I'm black. You know what I'm saying?
was gonna
Like,
say
Oh, shit.
pen pal or
you gonna
video
write
call.
a race in the upper right hand corner.
You
like,
could
how's it
also have
gonna
a
look?
video call, like, hey,
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
other
Yeah, like
There's another solution to this, right? First off, we need
or
to
field
stop.
trips.
We need to desegregate fucking schools because they were resegregated based off of fucking income. You know what I mean? We need
Yeah.
to we need to stop centralizing all low income housing in one community, right? We need to build low income housing throughout multiple communities instead of just having full blown concentrations of black people in low income communities. Spread that shit out. It'll help promote access to more jobs. And it'll also promote diversity within schooling. Schools are effectively segregated at this current point due to property taxes and income.
Well, how do you put low income housing in an affluent area? Like if they're in
are.
low income, no, wait, I'm saying like I
Yeah.
get we can increase the subsidies and like increase subsidies, but they're in low income housing for a reason. Like I don't need a Starbucks by my house. I need a grocery store. Like, I don't need Trader Joe's. I need ShopRite. I don't know.
What you do is again, like it's gonna take law, right? There's just no way around it. Like because these communities will fight tooth and nail to ensure that low-income housing is not built in their communities, right? They don't want black people to show up. They don't
It's
want
not really about
minorities to
black
show up.
people.
It's not about it's not
about black people.
It's about
It's not about
property
black-
value.
Yeah,
about property value
and
It is
safety.
about property value.
It's literally
Yeah, and
property value
safety. Safety is
Yeah,
number
and they
one.
also don't want black people there. Let me be very blunt with you guys.
But even
y'all
rich
can say all
even
this,
rich
and I'm
but
just
even
gonna
rich
I
say
black
it
like black
again.
people here.
but even rich black people don't want no poor black people.
Exactly.
It's not because
Rich
they're
black
black, it's
people
because they
don't want it
poor.
there. It's not so much
These
about the poor.
communities don't want
It's
to
about
see
the
black
property
people.
value and the
I will
safety.
say it again.
No,
It's
so
not
so
every
so
last
be more,
person.
be more,
There's enough racism in these
more,
communities to make this point.
bro.
But there's
bro,
rich black
no. So
people, is
listen,
what I'm
listen
saying.
about your point. The
Yeah,
only thing
an
that makes
extreme
this false.
minority, right?
No,
Right,
so
and
listen,
they don't
one
want
thing-
them. So why do
Hold on,
they
hold on.
not want them there? Is what
Hey.
my question is.
So here's what makes this false, right? So you have in Ohio, right? Dave Chappelle showed up to the same meeting as all these other people, right? To say, hey, we're not gonna build this low income housing here in this area because property value, all that other stuff. Like he showed up to the exact same thing. What does that show you? That shows you it's also about class. A lot of it.
And it was one black guy in a room of how many white people? I get your
I
point.
mean, there
Was it
was
100?
I'm not
more
really
than one. No. There was more than one black dude. He's not the only black dude in that community.
You
Like,
think Dave
and
Chappelle
that
gives
showed
up about
that
property value?
to
He
be
just don't
clear.
want people in his town. He
just
likes
want people-
walking around. Yeah, he don't want
He
people.
Yeah.
also likes property value. What? He also doesn't like the decrease of his property value.
Okay,
and-
Dave
Hold on.
Chappelle's property is worth more because it's Dave Chappelle's. It's like it's not.
No,
it's like
that's
about
not how
who
that
his neighbors
works.
are.
No.
property's
When
not
you
tied
build
to
lower
person's
income
name.
housing
saying-
next to, it's gonna drop.
Dave Chappelle's not selling his house.
No. I wanted to address Pace because Pace said something interesting, right? Talking about black people, people of rich African Americans not wanting poor African Americans to come in, but it's less even than that, right? And it's about the number of African Americans. So like, talking about that structural racism I referred to before, things that keep people from integrating. When the number of African Americans doesn't matter like how what their income is, right? When the number of African Americans rises in a neighborhood, property values fall. Like it's just built in. That property values fall when it's like above like 10% or something, right? Property values start to fall. Like this, we just have structural racism built into the
No,
housing
that's
market.
not. That's not.
We actually
that's
have
not-
an example
absolutely
here.
true.
We
That boy
actually have an
Damu would have had
Yeah.
5 examples from the
No,
state of
we
New
have an
Jersey.
example here in
That's not
Florida.
inherently true that it's black people that causes property values to drop
Race.
down.
Everybody that says it's strictly income. It's crazy. I'm a panel of black guys, and when I say race plays a part of why these communities don't want to be here, and everybody's just like income. Okay, if you honestly believe race has nothing to do with it, because all I'm saying is race definitely has something to do with it. That's all I'm saying. But it seems like I'm getting pushback from everybody, but I'm doubling down. Yes, these
On
communities
G's.
don't want
Yes,
to see
on
a level
G's. No, you're absolutely right.
of their communities.
Yeah, like you'll see like stories of like wealthy black people getting arrested going inside their own homes. Like I think a few years ago there's a story of a college. He's a college professor. They make bank, especially when you're tenured. And he was a black man, go inside his own home, got the cops called on him, got arrested. We saw videos of different black people getting and I know this is all anecdotal, but I'm just saying like
I have an example that happened to me about that once you're finished.
yeah, no, this shit will happen. This shit will happen. Like I live in a really nice neighborhood. Like Beemore, you know where like the Winter Park area is? I live in a great neighborhood. Yeah, I feel
Flexton,
I get
stop
mad
flexing.
looks. And I've lived in this neighborhood for years at this point. I get weird looks when I go to like certain affluent places like Baldwin Park. Or I go to like the Park Ave area of Winter Park, you know?
You know what happens when I drive a Maserati in Longwood, Florida? That everybody looks hard. They don't like seeing it. They don't like seeing it. How does
I think they look hard because they don't see Maseratis often.
No, trust me. They're looking inside the car, and when they see who's in it, you can look at the disappointment in their face.
The player
Still a
hate.
nigga in the coupe.
There's a nigga in the coupe. That's it.
Still a nigga in the coupe.
Bro, if people want to keep playing like race, don't have nothing to do with
That's
it.
true.
By the way, I borrowed the car. Just making sure we're clear about that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that race isn't a part of it. I'm just saying like income is also a very high part of it as well.
I'm gonna tell you one thing about me is I never forget income, right? That's the whole. When I say build low income housing, I'm already addressing the point about income.
Low income housing is not.
I feel like in America, people tie race to like perceived economic status.
Yes, that's what.
So
yes.
Yeah. So like when they see like somebody that has like a lot of melanin in a really nice neighborhood, they're like, does this person belong here? That type of thought comes in.
They selling drugs.
Yeah, when you're like a black person,
They
like
gotta
the
be a
airport,
rapper,
even like
entertainer.
yeah, they're like, oh, this person's a frontier flyer. He's not flying American. He's flying the nice airlines. Delta's and nothing.
Wyoming. People walk up to me because I'm a little over 6 foot. I'm black at the University of Wyoming. Oh, what sport you play? And I'm like ROTC.
But the thing is not racial. Thing is not racial. Like it would just be lying to ourselves. Like the reason why Tucker Carlson talks about like the culture of America, like the changing culture. When you bring in these people, it's not, it's that you're gonna shift what the culture of these communities look like, the framing of what the communities look like. They bring in the bad part from the neighborhoods they came from, and people believe this. This is what they believe. So like, this is what I mean when I say it's a racial factor. Obviously, there's class stuff to it too, but that's the dog whistle. You got to look inside that when they say like the shifting culture.
Well, culture is definitely shifting in America.
Culture has never not shifted.
That's what culture does.
I think one of the big I think one of the big things is linking to Taj's point, though. I think one of the big things is linking to Taj's point, where we associate economic status with the pigment of your skin for the most part. Because like even using like me and Taj live fairly close to each other. I can probably get to where he lives in like 10 minutes. And for example, like me, I was working at like a law firm before. My other job, I don't
dox yourself. My bad.
Well, no, I don't need to dress now. What I do currently, I don't need to dress anything fancy. But like when I go to these environments, I sometimes notice people look at me a little bit differently when I'm in like a suit and tie in comparison to just like my gym clothes, for example. Like, and I know depending on the area, the deeper and deeper I go into certain areas, of course I get certain looks. Now I've become accustomed to it and I ignore it for the most part. But it really is like the reason, like the property value, we'll assume that happens. If there's paperwork that's stating that's fine. But it's going off a perception. The same way if you see a bunch of houses with really dirty lawns, you assume these houses aren't good houses because their lawn aren't being upkept properly. Is this a perception issue? Like this house might have a horrible lawn, but inside might be pure gold. We have no idea. It's just optics for the most part. That's what property value is generally based off. And then of course violence and everything, which is still linked back to poverty. Because if you put low income housing inside these areas and then you assume, okay, these people are here, even if you assume they're here for good intent, there's that chance that they might get the one person there that want to rob someone because they're like, you have something I want. But anyways, Smooth, you want to say stuff?
Yeah, so I guess my question is, so to go back is so we have an issue with guns and people using them to do bad things, right?
Yeah.
Issue with guns, people doing bad things, right? So my real issue with the shooter is one I also want to just address. Like we have an issue where they are in a lot of conservative states going through pushing this critical race theory, and they're removing things from the history book that would actually help you not be racist. They if you remove it or you don't teach it the way that it should be taught in full context, because they're like, oh, you have to teach the other person's side too. What side is that? There's no other side to teach. This person suffered. Like, oh, you got to talk about how the master was all of a sudden broke because he couldn't have his slaves anymore. Who cares?
I have a, I have
You
a
know what I'm saying?
counter I have a counter argument to that. It's
What's
because
up?
which so you kind of have to somewhat tell the other side to some extent. Like you can talk about the master and how they suffered after because they did such
Sorry, how
wrongdoing.
did we get here? Sorry, I'm like,
Whoa.
I'm wondering. We were talking
No, where he's
about
talking about gun violence.
violence.
He's talking about gun violence and telling the other side and the other side.
No. So
the,
what?
sorry.
So what I mean?
I misunderstood.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is, so what I'm saying is, with the shooter, right? And he was racist, right? And he like that with critical race theory, right? They're saying is critical race, but it's not even critical race theory. They're just removing things from history books that actually promote a healthy mindset when looking back on America's history. When you start omitting things that happen to Black people, when you start omitting things that happen to Native Americans, when you start omitting things that happen to Hispanic Americans, you start promoting a history that is
People,
very
what you doing, dog?
So let me make sure. Let me make sure I understand. Then, so you're saying, as far as the shooter goes, one of the issues that may have caused this was because
Oh shit, I'm muted. Anyway,
is currently a lot of information that would have possibly swayed him to perceive Black people or whatever minority in a better light has been getting omitted. Just to make sure I understand.
Omitted or not being taught in full context the way that
Okay.
it should. It's being you know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. Now I have set up in this lesson plan during Black History Month, we're going to talk about these particular key Black figures, and it's the same ones all the time, and it doesn't go deeper into like real things that actually affected us in like teaching
Advocate for the
a
abolishment
broader
of Black
history.
History Month.
Huh?
I said advocate for the abolishment of Black History Month. Black history is American.
That does not.
Always
What?
well.
That's,
But that's a different
gonna
topic. That's a
work.
different topic. That's a different topic.
That's not really a thing
Just,
other
just
than
teach it
cultural.
all. You know.
That's just a culture thing. There's no, you can't abolish it. What are you abolishing?
No, I'm not saying I'm saying there's no White History Month because it has been accepted that White history is American history. Black history is American history. So teach it the entire year, not just 1 month. Get rid of Black History Month.
So here's
We don't have to do both of those things.
here's what I would say. Listen,
Go ahead.
we make Cinco de Mayo a national holiday, and we make Juneteenth a national holiday. Everybody else celebrate it. Everybody else love it. There we go. Problem, whatever. That's fine.
Hey, Rolex, I ain't leaving without white rice. Look at some
Ain't
white
no
rice.
solution.
I'm just literally saying how, like, at the end of the day, it's a ridiculous thing to say in general.
I have a counter for that. The reason why we have things like, I appreciate things like Black History Month because it provides that incentive for schools that otherwise wouldn't teach Black history, and they be lackluster when they do that shit too. I actually want an Immigrant History Month. I'll come out and I'll say it.
What does that mean? I mean, I think that like what I don't understand the context related to the conversation, but I think that what Smooth was saying was generally like how whenever we talk about, well, at least in my schooling, when we talked about the Civil War, the majority of my high schooling was related to states' rights. And that was the context.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was some slaves, like that was kind of thing, but it was mostly like, you know, freedom, state rights, and that's why we fought a war to the death. But yeah, I don't think that you have to give up Black History Month to teach Black history other months of the year. Like I don't think that that's conservatives are begging you. Like that's that repeal and replace argument. Like when we don't get the replacement.
you never get the replacement. You never
Ever.
do.
I just think, well, back to the topic. I was about to go off topic for a second. But back to what we're talking about. So just to make sure, as I said, just reverting. Right now, schools are omitting information that would be perceived as something that can actually would affect someone that might be racist or might sway them away from going into that path. Because I'm a big believer of becoming like a full-on, like, as far as negative racist, as far as being violent, that's something you learned. So I'm always a big like, look at the people they're surrounded by, look at their parents and everything else.
Yes.
I think that's what I think. I mean, according I forgot the percentage, genetics wise, who we are, like our parents affect who we are as people genetically extremely. Like a good amount of how we act, how we perceive things, that's genetics. I forgot the exact, I think it's like 50+%. So like these people that are doing these very heinous acts in general, why are we not looking at their parents and their family in general? Like, hey, this isn't a good thing. What type of people are around them? Hey, if this son is doing this, or this daughter is doing this act, let's take a look at everyone else, like their sister, their brother, whatever it is, because they're not all just random one black sheep in a family.
We
They're not
we
magic
already do that with
Personality,
black
so
people.
let's so
We are, every
Personality
time a
is
black
random.
person goes to jail for does something violent, it's always the family of the parents. Where are the
Persona-
fathers? The fathers
Pers-
aren't in the home.
Ooh.
Personality is
You got a
random.
mass
dude.
shooter. Where the fucking
You
parents?
can't really
at?
control like how you're born in terms of what your personality is.
No,
It's
no,
really
no.
random.
I'm saying it's linked to the
In
parents.
some way, yeah, they're related.
It's
It's
some
like
linkage,
linked
but
to
like
the soil.
you have an
Oh.
innate personality because you are a unique human being. No matter what you've been taught by your parents, like you can have the same pedagogy as a triplet, and each triplet is gonna have their different personality
I don't
for a
know if
reason.
that's
Because,
scientific.
huh?
I don't know if what you're saying right now is scientifically proven.
No. They actually have
That's
proved that
actually
with
true.
twins.
It's-
What
they
he's,
already
what he's
did that
talking
already.
about
I
with
think
triplets, they
what
proved it with
Hobo was
twins.
saying was that it's like seed plus soil, and the family that someone comes from is like a large part of the soil, if you know what I'm saying.
And I'm saying you can have the same soil, but different outcome,
Yes,
and
exactly.
even the same seed and different
Sure, but
outcome.
this is nature
notice-
nurture. We're just saying it's
Yeah, it's
both.
nurture.
Like you can
I'm
definitely
saying
impact these
nature
things.
plus nurture, even if it's the same, you still got different outcomes. Because it's
What you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like me
Right.
and my
Right,
brother,
Sam,
right?
Sam
That's
over
what
there
I'm
about to choke on
13
a
months
hot
apart
dog.
in age, but we're vastly different people. Like we grew up in the same household, same parents and everything. I went to a different high school than he did, and for some reason we're completely different people now. And like that's part of the soil too. It's not just your family. You're not alone with your family. That's like a large component of it, but that's like, who's in your neighborhood, who are your classmates in school. Like that shapes who you are. If I didn't have certain friends in school, I would not be interested in politics at all.
Yeah, like my thing is like if they can link any, like let's say use KKK for example. For let's say this kid, we can link him back to some random KKK member, right? Or a neo-Nazi, whatever it may be. Just for example.
I
purpose.
don't think that's.
Sorry. My problem with this conversation has gone like so far off the rails because it's about the government response, right? The government response. And now we're talking about, hey, can we make buddies with mass fucking shooters? Like, sure, I guess, yeah. We've already established that if you make friends with people, that helps. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, we make friends with people, that helps. But there will be a certain number of people who, for whatever reason, right? Maybe they didn't get their, as my friend Polite Pan in chat said, their government mandated black person, right? Black friend. Yes, sure. There's gonna be people who, for whatever reason, like have that issue, right? And then they take out through violence, right? Maybe not necessarily mass shooting, but in any case, violence, maybe radicalized. What are we supposed to do about that?
Punch him in the neck.
I don't think there's much.
You're never gonna
See-
solve for everything.
See, the
You're
government.
not solving for anything. I'm sorry, I don't know. Like
You are.
That's why.
Socialization, you do solve.
No,
you
I'm
actually
sorry.
do
Look,
de-
this is terrible. This is boring. Yes, we've already established that. Great. We can hand out a black person, every white person. We've done that before, in fact. All right. So anyway, like, let's talk about like actual solutions that we can put in place. Like, how can a government respond to these issues that are happening right now? Right. So I would love gun restrictions. That's one way of doing things, right? But there are other ways of handling this situation as well. What else
This is
can we
really
do?
politically unpopular.
And-
Like
and
something.
You need to make schools hard targets. They're soft targets right now. We need to build better schools, bigger schools, better facilities, limited points of entry, and actual security. That's
So-
something that can be done. Because even if you were to ban guns tomorrow, let's say
The
tomorrow,
cops
you got it.
confronted the school shooter on the other day in Texas,
That's-
right? The
that's not
cops
the
were
problem.
right
That's not what
fucking
I'm
there.
talking about.
And
That's
then
not what I'm
when
talking about.
he went inside, the cops didn't do a fucking thing. They just
That's not what I'm talking
they
about.
they
So
sat there
listen.
for an hour plus. Hold on, they sat there for about an hour. Waiting, I guess, for backup or some shit. When parents were literally jumping the fence, getting their kids out, and maybe
Not even
some
talking about that.
some cops actually went in and got their own kids out. It was absolutely
Yes.
a fucking travesty of what
Yeah,
happened
cops
there.
suck.
So saying
Cops
that.
do suck.
So what
Well,
would
you need to
security look like then? If it's not for police officers, what would you have?
Controlled entry points, right? These individuals shouldn't even be able to get inside to begin with. Someone with a rifle should be stopped. The door shouldn't even open.
And what
door
if
should not
they had it
open.
in a bag?
Okay,
It doesn't matter
we'll
if
go
they
with
had it in the bag.
AR-15.
The school should have
First
been
off, if they
locked.
had it in the
Well, they have
bag,
handguns in
it-
the bag.
If they're not a student, if they're first off, in this specific case, right? In the previous, they weren't students, so you need to have entry control. People
Yeah,
who should not be going into
actually.
schools if they're not
Dude.
currently attending that institution.
Or unless you're a parent looking to pick up your kid, right?
Obviously.
Or a
Yeah,
family member, right?
Parents have to
You
go
have to
through
be on
check
approved
weight.
But he
list.
was neither. He was neither.
Wait.
Yeah,
pause.
but I'm saying
You have to be on
I'm saying
approved
there's all
list.
kinds of reasons why you would let an individual in into your building. Or
Yes, and the
they
whole
could
goal
just
to
wait for
reduce
another
the
person
individuals.
to try to come in and force the way. There's all kinds of situations, but that's not the point. I'm talking about like how do we stop
Parkland.
these things from happening in the first place, rather than like
You
responding to that.
I'm not what I'm saying is preventative. What I'm saying is preventative. These individuals
Preventative.
had no reason to be in these schools, so don't let them in. You need to make it a hard target and control the points of entry.
That doesn't
Which is-
solve the problem of mass shootings, right? And doesn't solve the Buffalo. Like, what do you do for a fucking supermarket? Like,
Nothing
not
that
everyone
nothing
is
that
be in the privilege list against the supermarket, right? Like, that's like simply hardening and making it difficult for people to live right in these countries.
Okay, I'm talking
I
about
love
school
that
shootings
that's the
right now, so
response,
let's
rather
talk
than
about Buffalo
rather
then.
than actually tackle the heart of the situation, like which would be the guns themselves. Let's make it just harder for people to live in this nation. That's
have to
the
give
answer,
some-
right? Let's make it harder just to live, just to
Harder
exist
to live?
here.
Well,
Part of
I mean,
the-
Prime, you were
what are
talking
you
about
talking
real.
about?
hold on,
Nobody
like,
likes getting.
Prime,
What's
wait a minute.
Prime's
Prime's
saying?
talking
Nobody
about
likes
Let me
getting
real.
answer this
started.
directly. Let me answer
Can
this
I use-
directly, right?
Hold on, you've answered this directly.
A stranger being able to walk into my child's school, stopping that from happening,
And
somehow
grocery
infringes on
store.
my fucking
And grocery
freedom?
store.
How does that make sense?
And grocery store.
Okay, so I'm talking about right now how to prevent and
I'm
reduce
talking
school
about it
mass
all.
shootings. Okay, do you agree
We
that
have
my
to do-
policies will help reduce school mass shootings?
Can I-
And then
can I
then we can move
use-
on to Buffalo?
Sure. Okay. Yes. Yes.
no, how
Look,
would it not
look.
then?
In fact, what would also help is this: every time like the kids came in, right? We built a concrete wall, a fresh concrete wall each time the
Okay,
kids
Trump.
came in, and then definitely we'd stop
All right.
mass shootings, right?
Okay,
Well, at least
Trump.
most of them, unless kid
Can I
smart
use an
enough
example?
to
I
bring
mean,
it in
but
himself,
Prime,
right?
if
Unless
you're
you're a
talking
kid
about feasibility,
yourself, and then you bring it in, student yourself, and then you bring it in, then that wouldn't help in that case. But yes,
Wait.
if we build a fresh concrete wall every single time, that would indeed help decrease school mass shootings. Great. So, can we talk about generalized solutions?
But I'm saying if your solutions are based on feasibility, you wouldn't be dealing with anything that deals with gun control, because that's probably the least feasible option right now based on American opinion. Like they could have seen
No,
the
it's not.
kids die
Not
in their
based on
own hands.
American opinion. Are you kidding me? The appetite.
Americans do not want to. You're not.
Absolutely,
like, Americans
they
who own
do.
guns.
Absolutely, they do.
Don't want to control guns.
Absolutely,
not to the
they
extent
do.
that would reduce mass
I literally
shootings,
just
no.
saw a graph talking about the majority of Americans. Absolutely, the majority of Americans.
But
want
the devil's in the
stricter gun
details, Prime.
control.
Yeah, what do they
Absolutely,
mean? What do they say?
100%.
Yes.
Nobody
You're
reads the
wrong.
proposals, DO1,
You're
if you
wrong.
wanna know.
Exactly. When you
anybody
actually
reads
look at the
proposals.
proposal,
This-
yeah.
Nobody reads them.
This is like unbelievable.
Liberals
Like, no.
literally
So-
read, and the liberals say,
It's
"Oh,
not
yes,
just liberals,
statism,
right?
expand police
It's
power,
not
I
just
love it."
liberals. You can
Read
try.
the
You can
details,
try that.
Prime.
You can
Tell
try
me the
that, right?
details.
But no one wants to get shot. No one likes the horror
these people
that they
don't.
see. I mean, unless you are literally a gun lobbyist and you'll know that, gun manufacturer, and you know that, yeah, we're about to make some money now. When we have dead kids in the street, right? Because then people are
Those
gonna
are-
get afraid,
that work.
and then they're gonna buy guns. Yeah, no. Other than that, no one likes this. No one likes the state of affairs. So to say that,
But if you say we're gonna make legal gun owners' guns a little bit harder to get, like even slightly, you lose it. You're losing. No, absolutely
no,
not.
most people aren't gun owners. For most people aren't gun owners. And then beyond that, most people only have one gun, maybe two guns. The people that you're talking about, the people who have the
mass
biggest
collections.
aversion to these things, are people who own many guns. Be more than an
No,
exception
that's the
here, right?
majority of
Plus,
people.
the majority of the people own more than two guns in this nation. Is that
No,
the case?
not own more
Say
than two
that.
guns, but are in
Okay, well,
favor
then
of
that's what I'm
are in
fucking
favor of
talking
gun
about.
rights.
So I don't know why you bring
It's
that
not the
up.
straw man. Don't argue the straw man. Argue what I said. The majority
I'm not
of
arguing.
Americans.
No. You're putting up the straw man, and I'm
No, you didn't.
knocking it down. I'm saying that the vast majority of people, first of all, either aren't gun owners or don't own many guns, and so they're fine with restrictions. Like, oh, I
No, just
can't
because you
build
don't
an
own the gun
arsenal,
doesn't mean you're okay
that'll
with
be
restrictions.
right?
You're-
And
you're
look,
making a false
all I
equivalence.
said. And what did
Yeah,
I say here?
that's-
Right? Did I
that's
say
self-made
a mandatory? Mandatory buyback or mandatory confiscation? I didn't. I would love it, but I didn't say that, right? I talked about voluntary buyback. I talked about increasing restrictions, increasing the
Be more, you're
difficulty of getting a gun, right? And then massively increasing the amount of training required, all kinds of things, right, to slow down people's ability to get guns, right?
And the majority of
That's
Americans
what
are
I
against
talked about,
this.
right? The vast majority of people are not going to have a problem with that. They want increase gun restrictions, and they're not trying to build an arsenal. People don't go to bed. No people most people don't go to bed thinking, how can I build my next gun? I can't wait to get my next gun. That's a ridiculously small amount of the population.
People hold these positions on principle. I'm saying people
No, they
who
don't.
have no intentions of
Give me
owning
proof.
guns
You're just
are
fucking
against
saying
the
that.
concept of making
You're
guns
just saying
more
that.
difficult
Give
to
me
get.
proof. Give me proof.
I
I
can
live
find
in
any
proof of that.
statistic related
Do
to
it
gun
right
control.
now. Then do
All
it.
right, yeah.
Thank
got
you.
Let's take a look.
Go ahead.
Okay, wait. So let me chime
Smooth,
in on.
smooth, hold on. Smooth wanted to say something.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So okay, so when you look at people being for gun control, right? It literally it starts to break down into different things. Like it goes, hey, are you for more background checks? You have a strong majority of Americans that are like, yeah, let's get
90%.
some more background checks. I can get behind that. Like the last thing I seen, it was some like 80% number or whatever. The vast majority are for more background checks. Then when you go for like, okay, let's restrict what type of guns you own, that number starts to slide off tremendously. Then it's like not owning guns at all. But by and large, yes, you can say most
say that.
Americans support gun restrictions, but I have to agree with
Yeah.
Bam here. Like most people aren't going
Great.
to
And what did I
rock
say?
out with
Now,
a lot of people.
and then and the things you went on to list off aren't the things that I even suggested, correct?
Well, the problem is the things that you suggested.
when you go to the things that you suggested, like a lot of the things you suggested are
you got numbers for me? You got numbers for me. Just give me numbers. I
I'm
don't
not
give a shit
disagreeing
anymore.
whether or not they will work. I'm just saying
give me numbers.
There's a
Give
lot
me
of people
numbers.
that are really
Give me polls. Okay.
I'm confused.
Bam's brought something. Let's see if this actually addresses what I said. But I'll deal with that in a second. But yeah, give me polls. So I don't care about people's intuitions anymore. Someone talk while I look this over.
I was saying,
Oh,
I was
I'll get my
gonna.
position.
Yeah, go ahead,
I'll
Helpo.
Well, no. So I was gonna chime in on B Moore's point. At least for schools, because the thing with grocery stores or convenience stores is it's a very hard place to regulate. The only reason why is because it's just everyone can go in there. At least with schools, personally, I think schools should be ran like hospitals, where you can't just go everywhere inside of there. Like all you literally have to do with a school is just the same control point of entries, and just have a guy behind a tempered glass or something you can't get shot through, and say, okay, cool, scan your ID, who you are, slide your ID in here, let me check it. There's one guy there. Of course, they can force their way in through that door, but the thing is, these people, I said it earlier, these people go to places where they think they can get away with it. They don't go to places where they think they can get caught or they can generally get hurt. They don't go into these, I mean, of course, there's some that probably do, but generally, they go to places where they think they can safely get away with doing something evil. So even just that small bit where it's like, okay, it doesn't affect the kids. Kids get on the school bus. The bus driver knows all the kids generally. They drive into a secured area. Kids get off the school. The kids are fine. Getting the kids into school isn't really affected. It's just those unknown guests coming in. Same thing like hospitals. The person that works there has their ID. They scan their ID. That security guard at the front knows them. If somebody comes in with a gun strong enough to break through this glass, nothing was going to stop it in the first place. But at least they're trying to break through the door. Anything that adds an extra level to make it harder to get into the school is fine, because I don't see any parents complaining about that. If they complain about, never mind.
First off, all the best schools in America have entry control. Like, go ahead and talk to Joe Lewis. He's in a really nice district in his state. Many of us know him. Have him speak to you about the security that's in his school. I think that all the best schools, the schools are the president's daughters go to, magnificent security outside of security. Even before they were entered into those schools had good security. Even when they left, the schools maintain excellent security, because we have this hierarchy where we love to protect certain children, not them all. Schools are just too soft of a target. We don't give a fuck about them.
And the thing is, sorry.
No, that's pretty much it. The money needs to reflect that we give a fuck about our children.
I was just saying that Bam's article doesn't actually deal with anything that I said, but they'll deal with them later. You can keep going.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we're both agreeing on the same thing. I don't even think it needs to be that drastic because it said literally, school opens, tell all the kids when they're coming to school. If you walk to school, you go through this door. Every other door from the future tense is locked or blocked. Period. You leave
You
one door.
You can have multiple points of entry.
You
but
can,
both
but we're
have to be
trying.
equally secured.
In my head, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, so it's cheap as the world. Because
No,
this,
so let me be clear here.
Listen,
The reason why
so-
you never want to have only one entry, right, in the military's perspective at least,
yeah, because
creates
they
a
know where to
choke
go.
point. It becomes a choke point, and that becomes a target. You have multiple control points.
Also a
but
fire
the control
hazard.
points.
Yes,
The control,
that
the
is
fine.
fire hazard is not a big deal because there's always
Because
more
that's for
exits than there are
exiting.
entrances. If emergency exits opened when it's not an emergency, or even if there is an emergency, both circumstances, immediate response. But still, yeah, multiple points of entry, but the points of entry are secured. People are putting visuals, making sure that individuals going in are actually students.
Great.
Yep. Which I think,
And-
as far as for schools, that's a solution for schools because at the end of the day, like as far as getting
Can't-
kids in,
Sorry.
My-
Be more. What would you do? What would you do if you wanted to kill kids, right? You want to kill like your goal. I gotta kill kids, right? It's gotta happen, right? I gotta kill school kids, right? That's your goal.
Ice cream man.
And you couldn't get into the building. What would you do?
Yeah, I would think of another way.
Yeah, I would give you that other way, right? You could literally shoot them as they're exiting, or gathering to go in, correct?
But
Okay, so
probably
gotta
harder in
remember,
an open
this
space.
same argument.
It'd
This
be-
same argument
how?
exists, right?
How would it be? You could literally spray and pray.
I have the answer.
No,
I have the
no,
answer.
but no, this same argument is the
Okay,
same exact
Twitch.
argument of why your gun proposals don't work. Because if I really wanted to kill these kids, I would get a gun, period. Right? I would
No,
go
okay,
through
no,
the
that has nothing to do with
restrictive
what I
the
meant.
restricted,
No, no,
the
you're
restricted
kidding me?
measures you want me
Oh
to go
wow.
through.
Okay.
You
All
want me to
right.
go through all these
So
background
first of all,
checks.
yeah.
You want me
Okay.
to-
So
you want me to get
ignore.
my
Yeah.
firstborn
Nice
child,
try.
and then
Ignoring the
after
point
that,
that I
nice try
just
nothing.
made,
I'm
right?
addressing your
Rather
point.
than worrying about
Let me just go to
hardening
show how weak
our
your proposals
positions, right?
are.
Hardening and making life just more difficult for everyone else, right? Other than gun owners,
let
right?
me address-
Gun
I can
owners are the
address this.
one segment of the population, right? Where it should be impossible. That we should never make their lives even slightly more difficult, right?
Well,
Those
no,
dead
I-
kids, right? Yeah, it sucks, but like, what if it took? I don't even know.
I can
A
address
few
that.
more weeks.
It's
Hold on,
very
stop,
easy.
stop, hold on,
You
please.
want.
I'm talking.
Somebody
I'm
want-
talking.
No, be
I'm
more. You
talking.
guys
Whoa,
don't realize
oh,
it.
shut. Everyone, shut up. Everyone, shut up. I'm fucking talking. Thank you. You don't have to talk when I'm talking. Please get that. Thank you. Any which way, right? Saying that no matter what happens, right? The people who have to suffer the most is literally everybody else, the rest of society, right? But infringing on gun owners' right to get a gun immediately, to get in their hands as soon as fucking possible. Well, that's just too much. It's too much. How could we as a society, right? I mean, every other society does this, right? And then they don't have the deaths that we do, right? Even gun-owning societies, right? Even when they have that gun culture, there are plenty of societies
Oh
that
my.
Don't have
love
gun
guns
culture like
the way
us.
we love guns,
let me
right?
finish.
Even in those societies, they figure, hey, let's not have guns just being awash here. Let's make sure that this killing machine, a literal killing machine, that you are at least competent enough to have that, right? That you meet these level of requirements. But always, it's always the same thing here. Oh, well, you've slightly made it hard, just ever so slightly made it hard to get a gun in the hands of an individual, right? And then it just can't work then. Like, that solution, we have to throw that solution out. No point.
There's two
You
things.
can blab
Number
all you want. It doesn't
one,
make the points good.
Your
It's
article
Wait a minute,
didn't,
there's-
your
there's
article
two
didn't
things.
address my
Wait a
points.
minute.
They're terrible
Wait a minute.
points, Prime.
We can go to the article. There's two things specifically. Number one, these positions are principled. You keep appealing to how many people actually own guns, but that has nothing to do with
Give
people's
me
position
numbers.
on guns.
Give me numbers.
Specifically, I literally the poll.
No,
the
you
poll
didn't.
do the
I gave
50%
a
of
poll.
Americans own guns? No, but 50% of Americans still have their position on guns. Because it's principle. It's the same reason people are pro-choice. The majority of people who are pro-choice would never get an abortion personally, but they hold the position principally. So like, just because people don't have guns doesn't mean they're in favor. Like, they're in favor of making the concept of getting guns stricter because they have that principle. That's number one.
Literally, you got an article where we talk about that. There are people talk about, hey, making gun laws more strict, and then it doesn't actually tackle the thing that I was talking about. Right, so like,
literally
yes,
talks
it's the
about-
same numbers. It's the same numbers I was already referencing, right? So you didn't give me anything new. And then we're talking about, like, you said these restrictions that I'm referring to are restrictions that aren't popular. Okay, give me numbers.
I got one. Then the Gallup
Wait.
poll that I
Yeah,
that
I was looking at the Gallup poll that you sent. I didn't see
Wait,
didn't
can I
see
address
anything
Prime's
that.
question really fast?
Why not?
It's no, it's a question about like if you were a mass shooter, like where would you go? So the whole you would get them outside of school. Now, generally, if there were control points of entry, you could only get these kids once they're leaving school, which at that point you would just have security guards on school ground in general. Now, let's say if you're saying, oh, where they get off the school bus or whatever it may be in general, right? A lot of schools, they have a designated area for where kids get off the school bus anyway. So you just have to make that specific area safe. So instead of keeping everywhere overall safe, you just have to focus on the points of entry and where kids get off the bus.
Wow, amazing. This is all brilliant. This is all brilliant, right? Like, okay, what if kids go to the mall? Or well, we don't have malls anymore, to be fair. Okay.
Yeah,
No, we can,
right?
no. We can use them all.
No,
We
no.
can- you have to
Sorry,
understand.
like rather
Nobody
than
goes
like
to-
again, you're
Let me
not
finish, let me
addressing the
finish, let me
point.
finish.
Addressing the point. All you're talking about is hardening, right? A specific area, right? Specific area in life to deal with one specific problem when it comes to mass shootings. We're a country where we have endless mass shootings everywhere else.
Okay.
Rather than making the lives of children more difficult, locking them down, right? Making school less accessible, less fun to be in, right? Putting
Nobody
more
said that.
Wait.
officers on the grounds, right? That was not exactly what B more said, but putting more security on the ground there. Then rather than doing that, we could maybe deal with the guns themselves.
The reason
Deal
why
with the
this
guns
makes no
themselves
sense.
rather than actually like make the rest of the world's only Americans' lives more difficult. The rest of the world's already gotten this, right? They'll actually have to deal with this.
Yeah.
The children aren't slaughtered on a regular basis. So it's like not a big deal to them, right? But for us, the only answer is always, let's lock everyone else down.
Okay.
Still doesn't make it any more true. Let me address this because Prime, you keep spewing bullshit. Straight
After you
up.
done, I'll say
Just
something.
because, what part of not allowing unauthorized individuals into schools, what part of that is fucking boring? What part of that reduces the educational, the facility, like creating an
All right,
environment of education?
what about
It
grocery
makes
stores?
no fucking sense.
What about grocery
I don't
stores?
want strangers.
What about grocery stores? What about grocery stores?
I'm saying, why is it taken away from their educational
What about
setting
grocery
and not letting
stores?
strangers into a school?
What about grocery stores?
Let's ask a difficult
Okay,
question.
what about the majority of mass shootings then, right?
What about
Majority of
grocery
mass shootings-
stores?
The majority of mass shootings,
Grocery
right,
stores.
or gang violence
Grocery stores.
by handguns.
Ignoring that. Great.
And we
Nice
don't-
try,
yeah, you
B more.
want- 'cause you always
Keep trying to
wanna
run
use
away from the
niche-ass
topic.
examples.
Keep trying to do it.
You always-
What about grocery stores?
Pick
First-
one.
So okay.
So you only
to
want to talk
address
about
it-
grocery stores? Literally
No,
one mass
no,
shooting
I don't
out
want
of
to only talk about
thousands.
grocery stores. You only want to talk about schools,
I
right?
wanna
Because
talk
that's
about the
only
majority
one.
of mass
You can say, oh, we can lock down schools because, in that case, children are captive
Prime,
audience,
you are
right? And they don't go in and out a lot, right?
I
So you
want
only
to
want to
talk
talk
about
about
the
schools.
majority of
I'm
mass
talking about the mass shootings in general. Rather than saying, rather than doing this idea of like, how can we lock down all of Americans, right? Then we tackle the guns directly. That's what I'm doing. I'm tackling the problem directly. And you're like,
You're not
oh,
doing
yeah,
shit.
but what
You're
about
just
these
paying
other
lip
things?
service.
I agree with you. Build a concrete
worse than
wall
going
every
to
time they
work.
walk in and out. I agree. Do that. Do it. I'm with you.
Well, I
Let's
have a question for
Provide
you.
more concrete. Build
You
more
can lose your
concrete
mind
walls.
and it
I'm
doesn't add to the
100% with
point.
you. Let's do it.
I have a question for you. When you talk about these extra gun restrictions and gun measures, with all of the restrictions on guns that we have, and say for instance Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the nation, it doesn't stop any of the mass shootings that happen in Chicago. What makes you think that restricting more gun ownership would stop anything from somebody that wanted to kill
Are
somebody?
you kidding me? Right? You're talking about, okay, so you're talking about Chicago and Illinois, right? They have high gun laws, right?
They have the highest gun laws in the
yeah.
nation.
Oh, okay, great, fantastic. And what
I
about
wouldn't
the
say in
states
the
around
nation.
them?
I would not
What
say
about
in
the
the
states around them?
States around them have relatively lax gun laws. And
so where do you think those guns come from?
Yeah, but again.
No.
if other
Sorry, I'm
places
sorry.
are
Be more. I'm dealing with them. Where do you think
pace,
those
good
guns?
luck.
Excuse me. Where do you think those guns are coming from?
Majority of the guns in Chicago come from Chicago. They come from them
No, they
getting
don't.
bought and sold by these gang members
No,
in
they
Chicago.
don't. No,
No,
they
they
don't.
don't.
They come from
They come
surrounding
from out of
areas.
state.
Okay, So
So
Wait,
we
sorry.
American, there's no problem. American guns flow into Mexico, right? Like they smuggle, like American weaponry goes out of the states, right, into Mexico, right, and then humans and drugs come into the states, right? But we provide the guns, correct?
That goes to B-More's point that if you really wanted to kill somebody, none of these measures that you're putting in place are going to stop you from killing
Yeah,
somebody.
exactly.
Whatever.
Just like how you said how limiting a point of access to a school is not going to stop somebody for who really wants to kill somebody. If you really want to kill somebody and you have a limited access to guns, you're still going to find a gun. You're going to wait that time to get the gun. You're going to wait and do whatever necessary means. If you're talking about the most extreme person that wants to really kill somebody.
Yeah,
they're still going to find a way to kill.
Don't make murder illegal either. Don't make murder illegal.
You look at the manifesto.
No.
Wait,
We shouldn't have any.
What are
We shouldn't
you
have
on,
any
bro?
weapon restrictions,
I got
right? No.
this.
If you really
I got
want
this.
to kill
Easy
someone,
point.
then what's the point, right? Correct. But
Easy.
why
So
have
easy
any
answer.
restrictions? Why have
Easy
restrictions on
answer.
sexual? Hold on. Sorry, hold on. I'm dealing with someone else.
No, but let me get this.
Well,
This is a
sorry,
really
excuse
easy
me. I'm
point.
dealing with someone else.
Murder's
Dream.
not the
Why
same,
have
bro.
restrictions on sexual assault?
I'll
If you
explain
really
it.
want to rape someone, you can rape them, correct? Right?
Yes,
matter
how
what
is
gender
it-
they
how
are.
is- hold on,
So why
hold
have
on.
restrictions on
How is-
sexual assault?
Check this out.
Okay? No, sorry, no, not you, Be More. I'm sorry, I'm talking to Dream.
This is
Dream.
such an easy answer, bro.
Well, then
Like this is
answer
a
it.
kindergarten answer.
Then do
Like-
it.
And I'm about to. Murder, sexual assault is inherently bad.
you.
Versus
Bingo!
a gun is a
Thank
tool.
you.
Murder and sexual assault is
Are you
not a
kidding
It's
me?
inherently
tool.
bad.
This is an
It's not a
embarrassing
tool.
argument.
Holding a gun
That's
is
fucking
inherently
embarrassing. It's not a
How's that
tool.
embarrassing?
It's embarrassing
Embarrassing?
argument, all right?
literally
Yeah, it's
creating
fucking
sex-
embarrassing. So hold on.
Sexual
Oh,
assault is a tool now.
So we can't.
It's
So
a
we
tool
can't
now?
limit anything.
Damn.
So that means we can't prescribe anything, right? So that also, right? Then
Nobody
we
said that.
also can't limit
What?
access to military grade weapery. Right? We can't do that, right? Because
Nobody
it's
said
a
that.
tool,
Also,
right?
say
We
that.
can't do
What
that.
that means.
No. We can't. We
You don't
can't
even know
limit
what it
access to
means.
RPGs.
Explain it to
On.
me,
Oh my
Prime.
God! Dream. Sorry. Be More. I'm dealing with them. I can deal with you
Because you
later.
want to deal with, look, then
Oh
I will leave your
no!
panel.
I'm talking to Be. Sorry, I'm talking to Dream. I'm getting.
I will leave I'll leave the
apologize.
panel because you're making horrible points. I'll like
Go
to
on,
address
leave the
them.
fucking panel. Go ahead. I don't
It's
give a
okay.
shit. I'm
Have a
talking to
great
fucking
night.
Dream. Bye. Any which way. Thank you. So, Dream, like, then we literally cannot restrict any material, correct?
Huh?
It's impossible. It's a tool. Any material is a tool, so we can't restrict any material, correct?
You could restrict. I didn't say you couldn't restrict guns. I'm not against the restriction of guns.
Okay, so to
We're
talk
talking
about
the use
And
of them. And the
let me
abuse of them.
say something.
I'm saying
But-
that you were against. I'm saying that just how you said I was using your argument against you against the restriction, or the places, the things put in place to help school shootings decrease. I was saying how you were against those easily could be said against what you were saying. That's all I'm saying. I was using your logic against you.
You weren't.
Right?
You were
I
trying
literally
to,
was.
but you
You
failed.
said if you really want to shoot some kids, you'll just wait till they're outside of school. And I'm saying if you really want to get a gun, you'll wait. You'll do whatever necessary to get a gun. You'll get it illegally,
And
right?
what do
That's
you
all I'm
do?
saying. So
What is the
you were
point?
talking about whatever means necessary. If an extremist person wants to do something, they'll do it. I was just saying that
when
opposite to you.
decreasing the
The
amount
proof
of
is in the pudding on that one, Dream.
even in countries with heavy restrictions, every so often they have a shooting, right? New Zealand has had tougher laws than we did, and then they had a huge mass shooting, correct? Right? Yeah. So it's not that we're eliminating the problem, right? That's true. But good work, 100%. But we are lowering that, right? And I'm tackling the
not against
problem
that, bro.
directly.
Let's
Oh,
keep everyone
great! Then I don't know what you're arguing about. Fantastic.
I literally, I told
Did
you
it.
what. I told you
Great.
what it
Then
was.
why?
You were-
Then there was no great. There was no reason to
You want me to
comment.
give
I literally told you what the reason was, bro. You're not listening.
No,
to me,
you
bro.
didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Okay.
No,
okay.
you didn't.
Now,
Whatever.
I just want you to
Whatever.
open your ears, bro.
Oh, I
Your ears,
know.
because
Oh my
you
God,
need to
no,
do
you
something and
didn't.
clean it out.
No, you
Listen,
didn't.
bro. I just said it. I said it 3 times now. Listen, for the 4th time, Prime. That I stated an argument used against you.
You
that you
didn't.
were using
Yeah,
against
I know.
me.
You think you think you did some jujitsu here.
No.
You didn't, right? You fell flat on your fucking face. That's what happened. Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. We all did. We all saw it happen. Right?
how do
You
I
got
feel
gravel coming. I'm sorry. Clean yourself up. All right? You got a busted lip. I apologize. Right? Do better in the future.
It doesn't matter, bro.
okay,
What-
so-
what's going on here is simple. Prime, you sometimes you do this. You just don't listen to the argument. You like to argue
Yeah,
whatever
that's right.
argument you like
I'm
to
not
hear
listening to
in
that.
your head. Listen,
Thank you.
Prime, it's a
You
simple
don't listen
thing.
to what you're saying.
Huh?
You don't listen to what you're saying or what I'm saying.
I
You know what
am.
mean? From the start. Okay, whatever.
Prime,
Okay.
I'm not against what you said.
Okay, great.
In
Then
term-
I win. I love it. Then apparently
Can
I
I
win.
finish?
No,
in terms of what you're advocating for, which is restrictions, in its principle, it's not a bad idea.
Fantastic.
What I'm arguing against
my idea,
is
then.
your position against what B. Moore was talking about in terms of making schools safer. That was what I was talking about because your argument.
And then what
was,
about the rest of fucking society?
Okay, can I?
What?
Can
Hold
I
on,
talk
no,
about the grocery
hold
store?
on 1 second. Dream. What about the rest of fucking society?
we can get to the rest of the society.
No, hold on. So is your plan to harden everything? We gotta have like armed security guards. We have to have
Jesus
metal
Christ.
detectors. We have to have man traps at every store, right? At parks, right? We can't have parks out in the open. We have to build a dome around the park, right? To make sure that we control entry, control who gets in, right? And then again, security and maybe we should have gun towers, right? Maybe we should have prison towers, right? Just in case there's a mass shooting that breaks out out in the street, right? So to
the
beat them
simple
off,
answer is no,
then
because
what
Yo,
do we
we're
do
gonna make this
other
into
than
dark.
the guns directly?
the prescription to a school is not going to be the same prescription to a
I
grocery
just said
store.
that. I know.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
great.
So if you just let B. Moore finish what he was saying, he would have told you
B
that.
More wasn't doing that. B More was just
He
talking about
literally
schools.
was, bro.
You know he was. Okay,
Hold on,
I
hold
don't
on.
give a shit. B More is not even here, right? Whatever.
Okay, I'm here and I'm telling you that obviously there's going to be different.
Thanks.
Can I make a
Great.
point?
Oh, wait. Excuse
I
me.
like that one.
Oh, thanks. Too much way. We're like way over time. We're literally like 15 minutes over time. And there's like 2 people. So. We'll continue on this talk. We can continue on in the open walk on panel, right? So you guys want to make a point, if you get a chance to make a point, and you want to do so later on, then we'll have open walk on panel right after this. So we'd love to have you there. You can come in and make your point. We'll have plenty of time to do so. All right, but I got to respect everyone's schedule. And I said till 11:30. We're way over there. All right, so let's continue on. So thanks all for being here. Really appreciate everyone for coming through, for being a part of this, right? Everyone here, even the people who ran away from me. I really do appreciate you guys coming through, right? So support this channel, right? Support the channel by hitting that follow button if you're enjoying this content. If you came through, like the content that you're seeing, or it infuriates you one way or another, right? Follow the channel, subscribe to the channel, do all that good stuff. Hit us up on our social media. Got plenty of that. We got plenty of social media. We got Twitter, where we let people know what's happening, right? So check out our Twitter. Discord, everything happens, including our open walk on panel. Want to be a part of that, which is coming right up? Hit up our Discord and just be a part of the community. TikTok, we're posting great clips, funny clips, past clips from individuals. Some of them who are part of All Black Everything, right? So hit up our TikTok, follow that TikTok, like the videos. That would be a big help if you did that. And YouTube is where you'll find the VODs. Like, comment, subscribe, super chats help, all that good stuff if you're appreciating what we are building. Okay. I'm going to give an exit to all these individuals, but the content does not end. We have more content for you, so stick around. The content does not end here. All right. We'll start with our newest individuals, right? Because we got to give thanks to them for coming through, right? So we'll go to, and let me rearrange this. Arrange this space. So we'll start with our friend Hobo. Hobo, thank you for coming through. Thanks for being a part of this. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. This is my first panel, so it's actually very funny listening.
And
to
we were
everyone
respectful,
overall.
and we were
kind.
kind.
You actually were extremely, and you are for what I'm used to, extremely respectful. Of course, I wish I could go into more details, but I mean, there was like 8 of us here. I forgot how to count. But it was nice. I definitely enjoyed myself. I like hearing other people's perspective. I like listening to people argue and yell at each other. That's always great. But yeah, I had fun. I might stay off after a little bit, if anything. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me. Hi everyone. The rip-off Michael B. Jordan, according to the chat.
Thanks so much. All right. Next, we have Case, who is here with us, and like I'm excited for both of you, right? I'm excited for these new people with new perspectives, right? I enjoyed hearing Hobos, and I enjoy hearing your perspective, Pace, because especially was so different from the rest of the panel, and you had no problem fighting everyone else, right? I love that spirit. So thank you, Pace, seriously, especially at the last second
Oh.
you joined.
Well,
you
it
so
seemed
much.
like I was like kind of against everybody here, but but you know, I thank you for having me come on. I've been trying to expand my platform a little bit, so being able to come on and help other blacks. I don't have anything against white people. People always talk about, you talk so harshly about black people. I talk harshly about black people because I care about our community. I want our community to be better, and that's the reason why I love going on all black shows, because I want to, uh, you know, help grow our community, expose more ideas where it's just not the only way to get out of the ghetto is basketball, the military, and rap. You know, so I thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on, and I hope to come on some other time.
I would absolutely love to have you both, you and Hobo as well, right? And of course, Taj, who introduced me to the two of you. Thank you, Taj. You've been a huge help, just like amazingly, like a huge help. We've been looking for new individuals, right? And you found two fantastic people, so thank you. And of course, yourself. You came in and you engaged, and you were just a great addition. So I'm very, very thankful that you said yes.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Happy to introduce these people here as well. Did my camera just freeze? What the fuck?
Yeah, again, it did freeze,
Anyway.
but I don't know. Keep going.
Yeah, my name's Taj John of the YouTube channel Bars and Joysticks. Thanks for having me. I'm actually gonna dip. It's about like 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Florida.
Oh,
So I'm gonna go grab myself a milkshake and then go pass out. Maybe watch some anime.
Thank you so
Can
much.
you give me a
That
milkshake
goes
too?
with-
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a milk. Yeah, I'm gonna go to a certain gas station that sells milkshakes. You know what I'm saying? Starts with a W.
Let's go to thank you so much, Taj. Let's go to my man Smooth, who also came through. Thank you, Smooth, for being a part, for jumping in. Smooth, dude, I'm all happy that you been around a bit more often. I know like you're usually busy with work, but thank you for stopping by and being part of this, right? Like you're a valuable voice here.
Yeah, no problem. I love being here. I just want to let y'all know, the new people, look, it's all love, okay? No matter what's being said here, it's all love, okay? Nobody has beef or animosity with anyone. All love here. I'm Smooth of the Home with Smooth podcast. We're everywhere. You literally just type in my name. We're everywhere. That's as simple as I'm gonna keep my promotion. I do want to say, I want everyone to just continue to have open dialogue and have open discussions about these things, because that's the only way we're going to move the needle forward, is to actually like have conversations with each other. Uncomfortable conversations is the key. The time for comfortable conversations is out. We have to have the very uncomfortable conversation, actually be able to push the needle forward and push each other to actually do more. That's all I got.
Thank you. And I'm gonna agree with the all love thing, right? Even to the people who aren't here. Bam, shout out to Bam, shout out to Be More, right? Be More, I have nothing. I always say that. I start all your stream, like he shows up, and I have nothing but love for my friend Be More, even if we have deep disagreements. Shout out to my man Be More out there. He's also a great mod in this community. All right, so last but not least, we have D10 Dream, who came through. And shout out to a Dream, who I just yelled at the very end. But Dream, right? Like I'm always happy when you say yes to my invites, right? Because I know I'm gonna have a good time. So Dream, thank you so much.
I'm great. I'm glad to be here. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to flex my debate skills. I'm very it's lit. Thanks for having me, and I gotta go spend some time with my girlfriend, so I'm very glad that this is over now. 3 hours where I have to be like, hey girl, I gotta ignore you for these 3 hours, but as soon as it's done, I'm right back to you, baby. So yeah, I'm very happy to be back. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
All right, bye everyone. So last thing, we're gonna have a walk on panel right after this. Anyone here can join us, but if not, that's okay. Thanks for your time, your energy, your knowledge, and your passion for my community. I know they appreciate it as much as I do. Have a good one. Bye.